Welcome back, friends, to Return to VideoTech. This is episode 7 of the podcast where Matt and I justify our horrible financial decisions buying tons of movies. How's it going, dude?
Well, it's feeling a lot worse now as the stock market is in complete nosedive. I,
Yeah.
just, I always
Right.
think about that part in Big Daddy when when they're like taking like soup cans or whatever and smashing them on the ground and they're like 60% off dented cans or whatever. The Dow dropped, whatever.
Yeah.
I always try to like reuse that joke and like nobody gets it or cares or thinks
What
it's funny.
exactly does he say? He's like, the Dow went down 2 points or something.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. Well, uh,
Yeah.
anyways, I think
So,
we might have just used our cool new little Chrome intro. What do you
oh,
think about that,
absolutely.
Matt?
Yeah, very excited. Listen, one of the top things about getting to do a show with you is all the cool little things that you can do. It's certainly not like, actually doing the show with you since you can't not be sick for one episode.
Yeah, we are back. It's been like 3 weeks now, and we had to
Yeah.
cancel last recording last week because I had, I don't know, some sort of stomach flu or food poisoning or something, and then here we are again, sick once again.
Yeah, we gave you time to rest up just to get right back to being sick, but
hmm
I totally get it. So last Saturday we had our nieces over and they stayed the night, and that's actually going to tie into something that I'm going to talk about later in the show. But I mean, I've never told you this, but I just call those two biological warfare because it's like, I mean, they'll be like, "Here, hold this kid," and it's like, I mean, it's
They
like
just immediately start coughing and sneezing on you.
the Louisiana Purchase. It's like a blanket with smallpox, like you get sick like immediately.
Well, yeah, every day when I drop my kid off at daycare, it's like you hear like 50 kids coughing and sneezing, and
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like 28 days later.
Um, well, anyways, should we talk about some movies?
Yeah. What have you been up to movie wise?
Uh, I feel like I watched quite a few movies. But as far as physical purchases go, I was very excited to finally get my Arrow
Yes.
chunky box of Deep Blue Sea, one of my favorite like 90s. Uh, I guess it's a horror movie, not really. It's a
Eh,
shark movie.
a shark thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
love that
you
movie though.
you're
And I also
definitely in the exclusive club of top fans of that movie for sure.
yeah, I think I've had the review that I wrote for that movie pinned to the top of my letterboxd for like 4 years since I wrote that review.
Yeah, I
Um,
do like your dedication to it.
yeah, I obviously haven't opened it and watched it yet, but I'm sure it looks great.
Well, I'm sure it'll
Um,
get there soon.
and one other cool thing that I got from Terror Vision, which I noticed in the episode when we talked about Rumpelstiltskin. I talked about the company, but I didn't mention the name of the company. So this is by the same company, TerraVision, and I haven't watched this movie and obviously haven't opened it either, but it looks cool and some people that I talk to say it's cool, so
It
kind
looks
of like
cool.
Toxic Avenger-esque, but
Yeah. Um, Shockingly, I also have not seen this. I didn't bring any physical media up with. Well, I did bring stuff for this episode, but I didn't bring anything new that I've bought. But I know you got this as well. But I did receive my A24 Baby Girl 4K.
oh, yeah, yep, I watched that
I
too.
should have brought that up. What did you think of it?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I feel like I heard a lot of people online saying that it didn't get as steamy as they were expecting it to, and I guess I kind of would say I agree with
I
that.
kind of agree with that too, but I still found it like super like
Yeah.
fun.
Oh
It was
yeah, it
definitely a
was.
fun movie to see in the theater. I
Yeah.
will say I was checking Letterbox and it's like a 2.9 on Letterbox, and I was like, this is harsh.
Oh really? I would have expected it would have been a little higher.
I don't know.
Um,
People are wild with what they all of a sudden pick to pile on.
yeah. I did think it was a fun, like steamy, affair movie. One thing that I guess I didn't fully understand was like I feel like there was some sort of like hidden message they were trying to tell with that younger girl. Um, I don't know. I didn't get that whole bit of it. Maybe that part didn't need to be in the movie. I don't know what you thought of that part of it, but
She had her own little, you know, scandalous relationship going on where she
Hmm.
was being unfaithful.
Hmm.
Is that what you mean, the daughter?
No, no, not that. Sorry.
Oh.
The younger girl, she wasn't an intern. She actually worked for the company,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
then she was dating the younger guy.
Right, right. Yeah.
And then they
She
have that
seemed to
conversation at the end, and she was like throughout the movie, she was like she kept going to the boss with like asking
yeah.
like, "Hey, when am I gonna get my promotion or whatever?" It was
Yeah,
like,
and then she has to kind of pull some shadiness to like make her eventual rise,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, it's still only the in theater viewing for me. I probably need to give it a few more goes to unpack all my true feelings about it, but I'm still
Okay.
keeping it, you know.
We can revisit. We can have it
Yeah,
on the show again at some point.
yeah. I think that's the only thing that showed up recently. I will say, as much as I've, made decrees about shutting it down with buying new movies, I have pre-ordered two things in the past week.
What did you pre-order?
Uh, there's a Last Tango in Paris coming
Okay.
up, and last night I got home from the Pirates home opener with Lindsay and just saw that Second Sight was putting out this Nice Guys
Oh,
4K.
yeah. People are
Yeah,
excited about that.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited about it. She was like, even she was like, yeah, you can get that. She like,
Yeah, that is cool. They've been putting a lot of really cool stuff out. I mean, Second Sight always does, like,
yeah,
but a lot of people have been showing off their David Cronenberg's The Brood and The Scanners recently. I
yeah.
don't know if you've seen those. Those look really cool.
I I haven't. I mean, I have the Scanners Criterion. Is the Brood also on Criterion?
The Brood is on Criterion as well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I
think I
have
have that one though.
Scanners on Criterion too,
Yeah.
but yeah. I put a pre-order in, probably the most expensive pre-order I've ever done.
Oh,
Which is
really?
yeah, so this month I'm gonna try to like not buy much because I pre-ordered the Mikhail Haneke box set from Umbrella,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
which is like 15 movies and it's like $200 or something. It's like over
I
200
know.
bucks.
I need to see more of his movies because I think I don't know what they all are, but I know I've seen the two versions of Funny Games, but I don't know what else I've seen that he's
Yeah, the
done.
only other one that I've seen is this movie called Cache, which I have on
Hmm,
DVD, which is
okay.
another one of his like later ones. I think it was like mid 2000s or something.
All right.
But I really like both of those movies, and I've been wanting to check out more of his movies. And I was just like, "F it, I'm gonna buy this. This will be cool."
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of on my short list too to check out more of his work. I was randomly watching this movie that I think was directed by that. Is it Olivier Assayas or whatever? Um, Hold on, real quick. Let me check my letterbox because I watched it like not that long ago. It was the guy who I don't know if he's made a lot of movies. Nonfiction is the name of it,
Hmm.
and yeah, Olivier Assayas. I don't know how you pronounce it. AssaYas. Um, he's got that like Juliette Binoche. Kristen Stewart's been in a few of his movies. Um, but they mention going to see a Haneke movie in the theaters. Like in that movie, it comes up several times.
Okay.
Um, it's kind of on my mind because I just watched that recently. So I would like to see more of his works. So you'll have to let me know.
Yeah. I might do a video on it because I mean, if I'm spending that much money on a box set, maybe I'll make like a long video where I just give a quick review of each of the movies or something. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I would be watching with great interest. We'll say that. I did see something in the theater.
What did you see?
If you care to hear, I did see the Lindsay and I did see Mickey 17.
Oh, nice.
The
The Bong Joon-ho joint. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a sense as to where you'll be on the stuff. So I was like okay on it. I guess I had an appreciation for it, but wasn't blown away. I didn't care too much for it. Like, but I saw somebody on Letterboxd basically write something that, and I actually commented on it. I was like, I totally agree with this because it was basically like, there's kind of two halves of Bong Joon-ho. One is like the Memories of Murder, Parasite, and then there's like the Snowpiercer, Okja, whatever. And I was like, I totally agree with this. I love Memories of Murder. I loved Parasite. I've never seen Snowpiercer, but it never seemed like appealing to me. Um,
I got heavily recommended Snowpiercer, and I know a lot of people really like it, and I watched
Yeah.
it, and I wasn't that impressed with it, to
Really?
be
Okay.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sort of feel like Mickey 17 is probably in that camp. Like I said, I was like okay on it. I liked it, but I wasn't like Parasite and Memories of Murder are two movies that I really liked.
Yeah, I really want to revisit Memories of Murder. I've only watched it once, but I do remember really liking it. And Parasite,
It's
obviously, I think is
yeah.
awesome.
Well, it was like a really rainy day here in Pittsburgh today, and whenever it's like really rainy, and Lindsay and I are going to do a movie rainy day situation, that's like one of the movies that I always think of. It's like like Blade Runner, Memories of Murder. We ended up watching Heat because Val Kilmer.
Yeah,
um,
rest in peace.
Not a lot of rain in that movie, but it is just sort of like a very dark and dreary movie.
Yeah, I love Heat, dude. Heat is
Yeah,
awesome.
Heat's awesome. It's 3 hours, so it's like it's a good rainy day movie for that. Like you
Hmm.
got to have 3 hours to kill. But yeah, it's certainly like every time you get done with it, you're like, yeah, this is a really incredible movie and just an experience with Pacino and De Niro. I mean, I can't watch that scene now where they are like,
Talking to each other in the diner or whatever, or at dinner at the dinner table or whatever it is.
I
Or
can't really do anything else.
oh, because it's been memed to
Neither can
death.
I.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like, the best one was when I sent it to you about because it was something like when I try to convince my friend to do anything but like go drinking or something. You were saying like, yeah, this is me trying to talk to Travis about drinking at a different bar than what we usually go to.
I don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah. Nor do I care to.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Well, anything else of recent memory?
No, I haven't been able to make it to the theaters, but hopefully soon. A couple that I want to see. I really want to see that Mickey 17, and I've heard Black Bag is really good too.
Yeah, we talked about going to see Black Bag this weekend. It's only like a 90-minute runtime, so right there you've got me like
Yeah.
interested, especially because I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you go to see a movie now, the trailer section preceding the movie is like 40 minutes.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so long before the movie actually starts. So when there's a shorter runtime, I'm like, yes, this does not have to take up half my day. But I the last two weekends we looked at what all was playing, and there was nothing that I felt like I had to get to the theater to see.
Hmm.
And I have a pretty low bar. Like it's not. There's things that I'd be interested in seeing, and I would go to the theater anytime, even if it was for something that I'm not that interested in. But I just wasn't feeling that compelled to get
Yeah.
out this weekend, and we opted to stay home and watch Heat. And you know what? No regrets.
Hell yeah.
So,
Actually, wait, I just thought of one more thing that I just wanted to ask you about because we didn't talk about this before the show. But how do you feel about the news about the David Fincher Tarantino team up for a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
yeah. So the news broke on mine and Lindsay's birthday, which is of course April Fool's Day.
I thought it was
Uh,
fake. People were
Same.
sending it, and I literally thought it was fake.
That's the first thought. And by the way, like I had already been fooled by things that day. And Lindsay, who was like, "Hey, you dope!" Like it's the first thing you should think is this is a goof if you see something wild this day. And then like very late in the day, she fell for one that was like Ariana Grande playing Britney Spears, like in the Britney Spears biopic, and like Pete Davidson was playing like Kevin Federline or something. And I was like, "Come on, Linz!" Like, and so that one obviously was fake. But then only a couple hours later was the news of this, and I was like, "Yeah, there's no way," because this seems so bizarre. The one thing that seemed real to me is just like I don't know, Tarantino. There's always this thing where his movies, like he's stuck on like his last project for like so long. Remember how long the stories of like all this spin-off Kill Bill stuff was going to happen,
Hmm.
and then it just eventually went away. And then after Hateful Eight, there was like a lot of stories of him doing this as like a real play at a theater and having like a road show or something. Like it was like it just always feels like he has more left over from whatever project he does, and these things
Yeah.
don't usually come to be. And my first thought was sort of like, okay, maybe this will just fall apart. But I mean, when reading it, I guess like the script is done. I don't know. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Are you in that camp? Like, are you a
Yeah,
love?
I
Yeah,
love that movie too. I
yeah,
wouldn't
okay.
I know a lot of people say it's like their favorite of his movies. I wouldn't say that, but I do really like that movie. I love it,
I'll
yeah.
say it's one of my favorites of his. And Lindsay and I watch it like every like July, like
Yeah.
kind of like heart of summer. That part when in the movie when it's like, you know, at 2 in the morning, a completely drunk Rick Dalton started making margaritas. Like that totally it just like reminds us of Lindsay.
Dude, the
Um,
one thing I do want to say about that movie though, we'll probably talk about it on the show at
yeah,
some point, but I love the Spawn Ranch stuff. Like
yeah,
it makes me I know he won't do it because he says he's only gonna do one more movie, but it really makes me want him to just do a straight up thriller or horror movie because like
yeah,
the scene where Brad Pitt goes up to that like shack or whatever,
hmm
that's like one of the most tense, like scary moments.
yeah. I think I remember hearing him talk about how like he was inspired by the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre for that scene, like the walk up to the porch and everything.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that for sure.
But I will say this on the project. I'm interested. Of course, I'm interested, but it kind of makes me feel a little icky. Like I'm kind of like I don't know. I mean, I love Fincher. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It just seems weird.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it still doesn't feel real. Like I feel like before it actually happens, it's gonna fall apart. Like
Yeah.
something's gonna happen and it's gonna not happen, you know?
Well, I know because I mean, forever Tarantino was going to direct like a Star Trek movie, and that
Hmm.
like they were really trying to talk about that for a while until it
Yeah.
finally fell apart. He just has been involved in so many things, and there's so many stories about things that just don't come to be. So, look, if it does, I'm interested and I'll see it. But it is weird. It seems like DiCaprio probably won't be involved, and it's just going
Mhm.
to be the Cliff Booth character.
And it's just gonna be like thrown on Netflix too, apparently. Like it's not gonna get a theatrical run,
Yeah.
which
So,
stinks.
I mean, look, like I said, I'm interested. I'll watch it. I'm not like saying that it's not even something that I would enjoy, but it does. It's not. It doesn't like overly excite me.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we shall see what happens with it.
yes, we shall. So, Keith, for this episode specifically, I ended up pouring myself a little bit of red wine. It just
Oh,
felt like a
nice.
very red wine type topic for me today. Of course, what we're spotlighting, Rushmore, which
Mhm.
has some a whimsical element to it, but there's some heaviness as well. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe and I brought the full bottle up here, just in case we really get deep on this topic. So grab yourself an A&W root beer and let's get going.
Okay, Matt, we took our little break. I have my Herman, what's his name? Herman Bloom?
Herman Bloom, yeah.
Herman Bloom drink ready to go. Some uh what is it? Sailor Jerry and sugar-free A&W.
That is a cocktail. Do you have your Budweiser swim trunks on?
I wish I had some Budweiser swim trunks.
Yeah, same here.
Anyways, let's get into your blind buy or still in the shrink wrap. What did you pick?
Yeah, so my blind buy still in shrink wrap pick was, of course, the legendary Lucio Fulci and his quote sleazy masterpiece, uh, The
Dog
Devil's
collar on
Honey.
the back.
Yes, The Devil's Honey. And I got into this a bit, and it was, had this kind of sleazy saxophone music, very sexual out of the gate, very sexual.
Mhm.
And very dark. And I was getting like 30 or 40 minutes into it, and I was like, I don't really know if I'm feeling this right now. Like this psychosexual, which can be fun, but it was kind of a bit almost off-putting to me. And you know, I just started. I had watched what you had assigned me for homework, Abel Ferrara's The Addiction, which is kind of a dark movie too,
Hmm.
and I was feeling like I have periods of uh, when I'm not exactly feeling mentally chill, drop the ch.
Yeah.
And so I ended up bailing on this. And while we were
Oh, okay.
hosting, yeah, while we were hosting the nieces, ended up deciding to switch my blind buy still in shrink wrap pick to
Oh,
Wally.
hell yeah.
So I needed a cleanse after I was
Dude,
watching a little bit of The Devil's
that's a
Honey.
pick me up.
Yeah, I mean, Wally in its own way is kind of a dark movie, but it's
Well, yeah,
with a
true.
happy ending.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. And this movie also makes me think of you. Um, I can distinctly remember a conversation. I wish I could remember the movies that we were talking about. So this movie came out in 2008. Um, and it was sometime around that time you had already moved to Wisconsin. And then when you'd come back, we'd hang, we talk about movies. And I just kind of remember you talk like we were talking about, I'm sure like campy things and horror movies or whatever, and then you were just like, "Oh, and Wally, you should see Wally because that's just a good movie."
Yeah. I mean, it's the only Pixar movie on the Criterion Collection, so
Yeah, apparently, by the request of director Andrew Stanton. I mean, I don't know if he requested Criterion to release it, but he like kind of requested Disney to let Criterion put it out, and
oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's
so that's
cool.
kind of cool, and it's the 4K Blu-ray combo. So we watched that. Certainly, had me feeling a little bit better than The Devil's Honey was.
Hmm.
Uh, the I would say the visual element of it still holds up really well, like a lot of the Pixar movies do. I mean, and then the themes of it are almost even like more haunting now because like
Yeah.
uh, this came out obviously during the cell phone era and iPhones existed, but like, I mean, it's so much worse now in terms of people just being buried in their phones all the time, like just
Uh-huh.
technology completely driving everyone's lives. And of course,
I
the
love the
uplifting.
reveal of the humans in this movie too, because you're not
Yeah,
the first time you watch the movie, you're not expecting that. I don't think I
right.
was expecting that. Like, but it is like a crazy commentary on like just society just being lazy pieces of shit in general.
Yeah. Yeah, all the humans are obese, which I thought was kind of wild to put into like a kid's like pointed movie,
Hmm.
to have like all the people be like lazy and overweight. Like I appreciate it, but it's a little bit of a swing to do
Yeah.
that. Now the people end up being good ultimately,
Yeah, they're
and
not like they don't make the humans out to be evil. They just
yeah,
kind of make them out to be like they don't really care about the planet, and that's why they're all living on this like spaceship now because
yeah,
Earth has been completely destroyed by trash and
yeah. Which look, I mean it feels like we're always at risk of that. Um,
uh-huh.
But I like Wally. He's kind of a nostalgic dude that's into trinkets, like sporks and Zippo lighters, and you know,
Isn't he
means
like
well.
Love Mary Poppins and
Yeah,
stuff? Like he's
he's a
watching
bit of a romantic too,
uh-huh. Yeah.
and the villain of the movie it's like the autopilot of the ship, but it's very much like straight out of you know
2001.
yeah, because I mean
Yeah.
it's like what is it
Hell
Hell
something.
3000 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually been a while since I've watched 2001: A Space
Yeah.
Odyssey. I have a 3-pack Kubrick 4K thing that has The Shining, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Full Metal Jacket, and I've only watched The Shining out of it. And I've watched The Shining like 3 times out of it. That's that was
Well,
kind of
2001 isn't one of those movies that you're just randomly going to be like, "Oh, let me just put this on." It's a heavy movie to
it is
watch. Like,
heavy. Yeah. It's one of the ones that I think like I'm planning on Lindsay and I watching at some point because I don't think she's ever seen it. Um, I did go see it in the theater when like Christopher Nolan did like led some re-release of it back in like 2018 or something. Zach and I went and saw it and it was really cool. That's actually like one of my favorite things to do whenever like older movies get like another like theatrical run.
mhm.
Um, I love going out and getting a chance to see those. They did
Yeah.
a lot of classic movie nights at the AMC by us, and that was never a regrettable experience for me. I always loved doing it. I saw some fun ones like Clue and Fright Night, but that 2001: A Space Odyssey, that was some like Christopher Nolan led project to
That's
do
awesome.
like
That
an
would be on the
update
top
of
of
it.
my list of movies that I would want to go see again in theaters, like just
That
because of
was
how epic it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a that was a really cool experience. So I don't know if I have too much more to say about Wally, but it really I needed a mental shift and it got me there. So
Can
I
I ask you a
appreciate it.
question? Have you
Yeah.
seen because I feel like it's just a very interesting topic to talk about Pixar having a movie in the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
There's one other movie that I think could possibly fit in there, and I don't know if you would agree with me or not. But have you seen it's a newer one too. It's called Soul. Did you see that one?
No, I have not seen this.
Dude, I think you would love it, especially since like you're a musician.
Yeah.
Basically, the gist of the
Uh,
story is it's
Non-practicing, by the way. That amp is just that Marshall stack back there is just to set stuff on. I haven't plugged into it in quite a while. So
Well, you should watch Soul, dude. It's awesome. It deals with some very heavy like adult themes. Basically, this musician like dies before if I'm remembering correctly, he dies before he's able to like get to where he wants to get in like his music career.
what is this Inside
Um,
Llewyn Davis?
it kinda, and like I think it's been a while since I've watched it, so I might be misremembering, but
Yeah.
I want to say he's actually just like a music teacher, and he like plays jazz clubs and stuff, and like
Yeah.
he's super talented, and he like has this super high potential, but he never really reached it before he dies, and then like the whole thing is like it's his spirit he's trying to get back into his body or something like that. I might be
Well,
misremembering it, but that it's like very heavy themes like that.
I mean, I'm not tough to get a tear out of for a movie. In fact, oftentimes when watching movies, Lindsay will look over and there's just tears streaming down my face. But those Pixar people, I mean, they can really pull it out of you,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
That movie's
But
awesome. You should check it out if you
yeah,
get the
I will.
opportunity.
I'm way probably behind on Pixar's stuff for probably the last 10 years.
Maybe I'll assign that to you for homework
Yeah,
this week.
yeah, we can do that. I'm sure I probably have to pay like $20 for. Oh wait, oh no, I do have Disney Plus, so it's probably on
It's got
there,
to be
right?
on Disney Plus, I would think.
Yeah. Okay. I almost never use Disney Plus.
Okay.
It's like one of those things that it's in handy to have, but I never use it. I don't really watch the Marvel movies. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like they've run Star Wars into the ground.
Yeah,
I'm
I
one of those
agree.
people. So,
No, I'm there with you at this point. Yeah.
and although I'm a little afraid of the Disney people, they could shut us down real quick. But like, so I never really used Disney Plus, but I will say, to their credit, the Peter Jackson Beatles 3-part documentary series, Get Back, I've watched that like 5 times. I love that.
I need to watch that. I haven't watched it yet.
I mean, you have to be willing to kind of like power through the fact that they're just kind of like sitting around, like dicking around on their instruments for a long, like
Yeah.
that actually reminds me the most of what being in bands was like. Like you're just like messing around for like hours and then all of a sudden someone's like, "Oh yeah, maybe this could be a song." And like, they're just like smoking cigarettes and drinking pale ales or whatever and eating like toast. It's just, but there's a couple of reveals and nuggets. And I mean, it looks incredible. I thought I've definitely like, they did like a physical media release of it, and it's like on my list to buy at some point. Because I did really enjoy that. But yeah, I got to get caught up on the Pixar stuff. So yeah, if you assign me Soul, I'd be interested.
Yeah.
I don't think I've
I'm
seen
gonna do
it.
it because I really want to hear what you think about it. I think it's an awesome movie.
Yeah, please. So we'll get to that and homework, not to give that away.
Yeah.
But okay, so I think that's probably it
Shoot.
for me. So yeah, it was a little bit of a swerve. I in like
Okay.
no shade to the Devil's Honey, although it does feel like you have to be in the right mood for
Yeah, a lot of the Italian stuff you do have to be in the right mood for. I haven't seen all of Fulci's movies. He's got a bunch of movies that I haven't
Yeah,
seen still, but I just did. Let me just show you this real quick because it's
yeah,
cool.
please. Yeah, I've seen his movie. I think he has a movie that's just called Zombie, which I had watched, and then Watched that recently too, so I rewatched that, but I haven't seen a bunch of his.
So I
What do you
watched
got
the
here?
Beyond. This is like part of his
Yeah,
Gates of Hell trilogy. I watched
right.
this recently and it was really cool, which is
Yeah.
getting like a really cool 4K release that everybody's excited about.
Oh yeah.
But I just have the Blu-ray. And also, dude, this one is wild. Cat in the Brain.
It
This is
looks
actually
wild.
this is my new favorite of his actually.
Okay.
It's insane, dude. It's like it's super meta. He plays himself, like a
Mm,
different version of himself basically, who goes psycho. He's like he's like a movie director and he's
yeah.
like just loses his mind from making all these fucked up horror movies.
Well, that's
It's like,
fun.
dude, it's awesome. You should check that one out too.
Yeah, if you just like laid out all of Lucio Fulci's movies on a table and you said, pick which one you think is my favorite, I definitely would have landed on Cat in the Brain.
Yeah, I'd never even really heard of it, but this dude that I talked to, Chris, bearded film guy, he was like, dude, if you want
Oh
to
yeah.
watch some like crazy Fulci, watch Cat in the Brain. So I just ordered it and I
Yeah.
loved it.
I like how you're in with a lot of the personalities. Like
Yeah.
I've like followed a couple random ones because I think they've just started. I think I followed one from your videos and then it started like recommending other ones for me. So,
Uh-huh.
I've just followed some random physical media collectors. I don't think I'm getting a lot of follow backs, gotta tell you.
Well, they probably I feel like those guys when they have like their accounts are specific to just the movie stuff, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um and yeah, I don't know how I fell into talking to those guys, but it's cool. It's
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
to talk to other people with similar interests on the internet.
You're a man of the physical media people. I'm more of a lone wolf.
All right.
All right, so
Should
that
we
was
move
me.
on?
Yeah, please, let's move on to your
Okay.
pick.
So I actually let you pick if you don't remember. It's been 3 weeks, but it
I
was
do remember.
between it was either gonna be Possession or Peeping Tom. I think was the
Yeah.
other one.
Oh shit, I forgot to bring my copy up.
You said
Because
you have a cool one, right?
yeah, it's a similar picture, but it's like a thick
Like the
book.
yeah,
I would go get it, but it's like a whole thing
that's
for
okay.
me to. I
People
mean,
probably know what it looks like.
yeah, it's
Um,
like a thick green uh book
yeah.
almost type. But so Lindsay and I watched my copy too. So
Okay.
I got a refresh on this.
All
When
right.
when when I knew you were watching it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to dive back into this so that we
Yeah.
can really have a real discussion on it. And I knew that like I was also well, I don't know if I knew at that time that I was pivoting off Devil's Honey, but I kind of was like, well, if I'm doing Wally, I know we're not going to talk like too much about that. Um, I don't know, but I just was diving back into Possession, so I'm ready to take this journey with you once you give your thoughts.
Okay. So this is like basically the most fun date movie you can ever see.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
No, basically it's just this super intense breakup movie. Sam Neill and what's her Isabel Adjani, I think is how you pronounce her last name. They're this married couple and they're going through a divorce. Anna is the woman's name. She's been unfaithful, and Sam Neill's character Mark, I was kind of confused with this. Actually, I had to watch this movie twice, but he's supposed to be like a spy, right?
Yeah,
Did you catch that?
which is kind of like hit on, but is not that big of a plot detail.
Yeah, you see, there's this really cool shot in the very beginning where he's talking to his handlers or whoever his bosses are or something.
Yeah.
And basically he's returning from this like mission he was on or something, coming back home, hasn't seen his family in a while. Um, and yeah, when he gets home, Anna, his wife, she reveals to him that, or she doesn't reveal to him right away, but basically they're going through some issues, and yeah, they're going through this crazy divorce. Um, did you know? Actually, I was watching some of the special features. The director, Andra, I'm gonna butcher his name, Andrei Zulawski.
Yeah.
So to me, this movie felt super like personal, and I didn't know this until after I watched the movie and watching some of the special features. But he was like inspired to make this movie basically by his real life
Okay.
divorce that he was going through. even down to the fact that his wife left him for a guy that's like the Heinrich character.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it does feel very personal to some degree. There's certain things that feel less personal, the more supernatural elements of the
Yeah,
movie. But yeah, no, because it is like, I mean, it's dark. I mean, it's heavy, right? I mean, it's like,
it is.
it's
Yeah.
not really scary, unsettling, you would say.
I would say there's some scary imagery. I was
Yeah.
definitely off put. And
Yeah.
we talked about how we pushed the recording of this off. So I my first watch of this was, I think it was Saturday last week,
Hmm.
and it was like I felt fine at the beginning of the movie, and like halfway through, or like right before you see like the really weird stuff, like Octopus Man weird stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
that's when my stomach started hurting. So I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, like
Oh,
this is
that did
like
it.
yeah, like watching this movie intensified my illness for sure."
It pushed you over the edge. You were her in that weird subway scene where she's just like throwing up for 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's probably like the most famous scene from the movie. I guess you would say is like, yeah, Anna has this like freak out, and she just, I don't even know how to describe it. She's just convulsing and moaning, and
Yeah.
this ooze starts coming out of her like
It looks like spit up or whatever. Like it's just disgusting.
mhm.
Bile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was my second time watching it. And I will say, I think I started to get it a little more and why people like think it's great. And for me, obviously I've talked about on the show being like such a big David Lynch fan. And it kind of seems like if you're of that ilk and into his work, like this is something that would translate for you because I think there's a lot um, more depth going on here with all the weirdness and all the like kind of more supernatural elements and how you're supposed to interpret that. But I'm still not quite there yet. Like I'm not quite where I'm like, oh, this is a masterpiece, or I like it as much as like,
Yeah.
the David Lynch stuff that I really like. But I did get it more this time.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely some similar themes, like Mark's kind of like he's like this male character who he struggles with like feeling inadequate and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And that's like a thing that I feel like happens a lot in David Lynch movies.
Well, and the idea of the title, possession, I totally was taking it as a possession, a demonic possession. But I
Hmm.
think there's some wordplay going on there, and like the idea of them possessing each other, and like
Yeah.
that's what like drives them both. Like he has this obsession that he's losing this possession with her, but then this whole thing with the octopus man, and then the octopus man is actually Sam Neill, or turns into Sam Neill. It's like she has
Hmm.
this other, like her own obsession with possessing him. Um, that I was like totally like getting more this
Hmm.
time around. The first time it's just like a pure shock. You're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, I
Um,
feel like this movie could have been great even without the supernatural stuff, just because of how intense and real like all the relationship stuff feels. I don't know how you
Agreed.
felt about that. Like, I've
Yeah.
seen some people online say that they think the performances are a little bit over the top, but
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that's
know. I
fun.
didn't. I didn't think that.
Um, I mean, if it is, I think it's kind of fun. But like, that there is some really cool camera work though in it too. It kind of feels like a
Oh
very
yeah.
artsy movie at the same time, which is
Uh-huh.
sort of weird to say. But like, um,
It does feel
there's
kind of cold a little bit too. There's
it's
a lot of
all
like liminal spaces. Like I feel like I didn't write this down, but I did notice that like especially like a bunch of the scenes with Anna like going through like the train stations and stuff. There's like no people anywhere.
yeah, yeah.
It's like they're walking through these big city streets in like West Berlin, I think it is, and there's like nobody around.
Yeah, I mean, even when he's at like Heinrich's all the apartments are like mostly pretty big. I
Yeah.
think where Sam Neill is by himself seems like small and contained, but like
Uh-huh.
most of the other places you're in like kind of wide open spaces and it's like one person,
Yeah.
which is like this very isolating feeling. I think, the kind of the coolest shot in the movie is like when he's in that like rocking chair or whatever and like,
Oh yeah, he's like rocking back
yeah, like
as hard as he can.
yeah, that part's kind of that part is like definitely unsettling.
Uh-huh.
What did you rate it just out of curiosity?
I don't know if I did actually rate it on Letterboxd, but I think I would probably give it like 4.5.
Yeah, I
I
think
really liked it. I wouldn't say it's a 5-star movie for me, but
yeah.
I definitely really liked it. Yeah.
I gave it a 4 the first time I watched it. I kept it there, but I do think that there's room to grow for me. Like I said, I was getting it a little bit more, but yeah, to your point, it's not exactly an aphrodisiac. Like it's not,
Yeah. It's
it's
not
not,
a fun movie to watch
it's
for
not a
sure.
movie that you just want to like break open a bottle of red and you know
Yeah.
have a candle at dinner and then watch Possession.
Yeah. I
But
will say I'm starting to realize the more of his movies I watch, Sam Neill might actually be insane in real life. Like,
yeah,
have you seen like he's really good at playing this character that's kind of like losing his mind. Like the other ones that I can think of
what's the
were
one in space?
Event
Oh
Horizon,
yeah,
which I love, which was directed by the same dude who did Mortal Kombat. And
the
the other one, In the Mouth of Madness, is pretty cool too, where yeah, he just
Event
goes off the rails.
Horizon. Oh, I mean, in terms of all time movies that went somewhere that I didn't expect it to, Event Horizon is like on that list because
Yeah.
I don't I mean yeah, you think it's like a sci-fi, maybe alien type thing or whatever, and then it like turns demonic.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's the whole thing with the movie is I
Yeah.
think the ship like went through some portal and ended up in hell or something.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I could probably come up with this list at some point. I know you've got the dad bro list, but like
Hmm.
list of movies that just go somewhere that I totally was not thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
Event Horizon is on that list for sure. What was the other Sam Neill movie you were?
In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, In the Mouth of Man. I've never seen that.
Okay, Matt should have noted. In the Mouth of Madness, directed by John Carpenter, and it was H.P. Lovecraft that I was trying to think of.
Okay, very
It's a
good.
Lovecraftian story.
Yes. Okay, and of note for me, already had it in my watch list on Letterboxd, so I don't have any memory of adding that. What would be great is if that actually happened on the show before too.
Okay, do you want to get into your in the mood
I
pick?
will do my
I don't even know what you picked. You didn't even tell me.
yeah.
I don't think.
I'll do my in the mood. So my in the mood, with the spring weather coming around, and it's been this like nonstop rainstorms recently, but we had like a nice stretch of sun and 60-degree weather, and there's certain movies that I just really like come springtime. Inherent Vice is one. I mean, Lindsay and I watch that like every spring. Already like knocked that off the list, but another one for me, and it's a movie that I've revisited a few times over the last few years, and it's starting to become like an every year watch for me, and it's Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris, starring Owen Wilson, who will come up later on the show. Um, a movie that's been described by some as too whimsical, which I understand, but I like it, and I like it more year over year. Now, obviously, like Woody Allen has like a whole history, and has a lot of negative press out there and everything. But for me, like I'm just we're just talking about the movies.
Yeah.
I just want to like as these things come up on the show. I don't think you and me are really in any position to talk about that stuff. We're really just talking about the movies.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen this?
I have not. No.
So I think you'd actually, knowing me, understand what I find very relatable about this movie. So it is weirdly supernatural, which a lot of Woody Allen's movies are slice of life um, comedies, and this has a bit of that too. But it's basically Owen Wilson is this guy who writes movies, and they're in France, and he ends up like going out at night by himself and going back into the past of like the 1920s, and he's hanging out with like F. Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway and people that he idolized, and the whole thing is like he idolized this era in a way that he's like in a way that he thinks everything sucks now. So it's basically me with the 1970s. Where I'm just like,
Okay.
I just want to live in the 70s. Everything sucks now. Like, I just want to be in the 70s movies, 70s culture. Like, that's what I want. life to be. But his version of it is like the 1920s. Um, and it's got like a fun cast besides him, like Adrian Brody, Marion Cotillard, Rachel McAdams, maybe in the most thankless role ever. She plays his girlfriend, who's just a horrible person. Michael Sheen is like his, I don't know, peer, or I guess I don't know if they're colleagues or what, but it's people that they're hanging out with in the modern time. And these people are horrible. Rachel McAdams' like family is in it, not her real family, but their characters in it, like her parents, and they're just like terrible rich people. It's actually that part of it is like kind of hard to watch because you're just like, I just can't believe that there's people that are this bad, even if they're like annoying rich people. Like they just
Mhm.
seem like dicks, like people that you don't want to hang out with. And it's supposed to be like his girlfriend or fiance or whatever. Um, but the kind of conceit of the movie, or I guess where it all goes, is Marion Cotillard is a girl that he meets in the past, and he's like, "Isn't this great? Like we're living in such a great time." But then, as they're getting to know each other more and more, she's actually obsessed with an even like previous generation. It's like this idea that everybody always thinks it was like better before them, and like so she like they go further back in time, and she wants to stay there. And like obviously that idea really resonates with me because I think I've always been a pretty nostalgic person, but I also like I talk about the past all the time. Like I used to always talk about like, oh, the good times. Remember when we did this and how great it was, and like right now sucks.
We're constantly doing that.
I know. And
Every
so
time we see each other in person, we just talk about 10 years ago and what we were
because
doing.
it was the best time ever. Um, so I love that movie for this. It's also got like this fun like French jazz score, and my girlfriend Leah Seydoux also making like a small appearance in it, who always a welcome sight. So it's just got a kind of spring uppity vibe to it. So it's a really good watch for this time of year. But like I do think, like I said, it was almost a joke between like Zach Bell and I at one point because I think Bell called the movie like too whimsical, and I like totally get it, and I totally like if you think that about it or can't do this thing where it's like, what do you mean he's hanging out with F. Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway? But I think it's fun, and the overall idea of it just totally like gets me at my core because even the lesson that the movie's trying to tell, I can't learn it. I'm still just like, yeah, no, that's great, but yes, I would rather live in the 1970s.
Like,
So
I get what you're trying to tell me, but I disagree.
yeah, I can't learn the lesson. I can't. I'm not. I need to experience it myself. I need to go meet a girl in the 70s. I actually need to meet a Leia Seydoux type in the 1970s, and then have her. Me and her will go back to the 50s together, and then she'll be obsessed with the 50s and want to stay there. After all of that, I will understand this lesson.
Okay.
So that's Midnight in Paris.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have much to say because I haven't seen the movie. I
That's
don't think
okay.
I've even seen a trailer, but
Well, and
it sounds
it's a
cool.
shorter watch, I think. So, it's one of those things that I'm not sure that I would like subject you to because I don't know if you'd really like it. But um, if you ever give it a shot, why don't you let me know and we can talk about it then?
All right, we'll see.
I was also like it was kind of on my mind because when I was in Key West, I did the Hemingway house, and there's like in one of the rooms in the house, they've hung up like movie posters of novels that he wrote that were made into movies, but one of the posters that's hanging up is that. So it had kind of been on my mind too.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Can we
thanks.
move
Thanks
on?
for the big reaction.
I mean, that's cool. Key West is cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to your in the
All
mood.
right. I don't have a ton to say about this movie either. I did really enjoy this. I watched Southern Comfort, and this is just another Walter Hill movie, and I've been
Oh
trying
yeah.
to make my way through Walter Hill's filmography, and you assigned me The Driver.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
so figured now would be a good time to watch this one. I have the Shout Factory version of this, but I know there's a pretty cool, I think Vinegar Syndrome put out a really cool like hardbox edition of this that a lot of people have and enjoy.
How did you like it,
Um,
Keith?
what's that?
How did you like it?
How did I like the movie? I enjoyed it.
Okay, your
It's
voice went up. That means you're lying.
no, I did enjoy it. It did it gets a little slow in the middle, I would say. Or not really slow. It's hard to describe. Basically, the gist of the movie is it's these, I think they're like Army Reserve or National Guard dudes. So they're not like regular soldiers, but they go on this like weekend long training mission in like this swampy bayou of Louisiana, I think it
Oh
is.
boy. Well, it sounds like a very sweaty movie.
Yeah, and the movie is basically an allegory for the Vietnam War. Um, but basically, they get into some shit by stealing these Cajuns' boats
Okay.
and kind of messing with them. So they're on this mission. They're supposed to spend a few nights like out in the swamp or whatever. And one of them has this idea that they're going to take these boats that they come across and go downriver somewhere where they know that there's like a whorehouse or something,
You
basically.
want to know what this actually sounds like, Keith? This sounds like an allegory for me and a night out with my friends who are all just like doing things that I don't want to do.
Yeah,
Like
this is
you
something.
guys are like, let's
If we were in the swamps of Louisiana,
yeah,
there's like a high probability of this happening to us.
absolutely. Burton would be like leading the charge on stealing Cajun boats.
But so anyways, they steal these boats and then they're like paddling down the river and these Cajuns that were like out hunting or something, they come up to the side of the river and they see that their boats are stolen. And because these military dudes are on like a training mission, none of them have real bullets. But one of them is like an asshole, and he decides to shoot a bunch of blanks towards the Cajuns.
Oh boy.
And so that basically they piss off these Cajuns, and then the Cajuns, in retaliation, start killing off these military dudes.
Well,
So it's like they're getting picked off one by one, and it feels very nightmarish because it feels like it starts off pretty quick and they get into the whole bit with the Cajuns really fast, I feel like. And then it's just this group of like 8 to 10 dudes. I don't remember how many of them there are, but they're all just getting picked off slowly one after another by these Cajuns, and it's like psychological warfare. And yeah,
it sounds intense.
yeah, it's kind of tense. It feels like, I don't know, like Platoon or something like that. It definitely feels like a Vietnam War type
Yeah,
movie.
it's so weird to like just like take place in like Louisiana.
But yeah, so it's happening in Louisiana, which is
Yeah.
like what makes it kind of unique. And like, I don't want to totally spoil the movie, but towards the end, there's at least a couple people surviving from this group. I don't want to spoil it, but some of the dudes are still alive, and they find themselves like in this like Cajun people's like, it's like a small swamp town, and it's like, but they still don't feel safe because they don't know who it is that was like trying to kill them,
Sure.
if that makes sense.
It
So
does. I don't feel safe.
yeah. So it's a pretty tense movie. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Walter Hill movies that I've watched out of the bunch. But it's pretty interesting. I feel like this could be like put in the dad bro movie
Oh,
category.
really? That would have to be like a very deep cut dad bro
Yeah.
movie. It's
But it
hard for me
has
to,
some dudes that I think you probably like. Keith Carradine is like one
oh,
of the
hell
main
yeah.
dudes. Powers Booth is one of the main dudes.
Okay.
Fred Ward is one of the main
What is this
dudes.
like the cast of like an original series on HBO? Just
Yeah,
like a bunch of dudes that you recognize.
but I take it, given how much I've said and you haven't said, you haven't seen this, right?
That is correct. That is a
Yeah.
correct observation. I've never heard of it even, so
Okay.
this is
I think it's pretty cool. I think
new
it's
to me.
worth a watch.
Yeah,
I
for
think I
sure.
gave this like 3 stars.
Yeah. Well, worth a watch is probably something that you and I say a lot that has like it's a phrase that has almost zero weight to either of us because we will literally watch like almost
Yeah.
any movie in
Yeah.
like
I
not
guess maybe
nearly
that
that much
wasn't
bad
high
time.
praise, but I did enjoy the movie.
Okay, good. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good segment. So I think that's probably it for In the Mood. And
Yeah.
no teases. We'll just show up with surprises for next episodes in the
All
mood.
right.
All
Matt
right.
taking control. Let's go.
How about that?
All right.
Somebody's
I
got
like
to.
it. All right. Let's take a break and then we'll come back and do Rushmore. Okay. It's time for the spotlight. Matt, why don't you introduce the people to Rushmore?
Very well, Keith. 1998 brought us an all-timer in indie comedy with auteur filmmaker Wes Anderson's Rushmore. This follow-up to Bottle Rocket not only served as the debut acting role for Jason Schwartzman, but a redefining of comedy legend Bill Murray. Anderson and early writing partner Owen Wilson brought us a coming-of-age story filled with belly laugh-inducing one-liners that blurs the line between youth and adulthood, asking audiences, how of age do we really come? As the years have gone on, Wes Anderson has rode this wave of appealing to niche film fans, intellectuals, and comedy nerds, to also being perceived as this sort of annoying king of twee who's maybe strayed a bit too far into the quirkiness. Regardless, his films are almost always critically acclaimed, and the majority of his work is available in the Criterion Collection, making him, of course, a staple for any physical media collector. Twee or no twee, I've always felt that Anderson has a real knack for presenting these very real, wounded characters and putting them in these slightly surreal, slightly storybook universes. And while the ratio of that has evolved over time, these through lines make his movies undeniably him. Not unlike other directors to come out of the 90s indie movement, Anderson loads his films up with references to other movies, and Rushmore is jammed packed with them. Clearly a fan of 70s films, there are several recognizable nods to new Hollywood entries like The Graduate, Harold and Maude, and even The Godfather. Even one of the lead character, Max Fisher's plays, is an adaptation of Serpico. And then, of course, in timely fashion, we also get an opportunity to tie in the recent loss of Val Kilmer as his opening scene in 1995's Heat, when he asked for an order to be made out to Jack's Demolition, Tucson, is recreated with Max in his Ready Demolition, also in Tucson, Arizona. The casting of the two leads was critical to making this movie what it would become. Sometimes a great script and vision can only get you so far, and I believe landing Bill Murray and discovering Jason Schwartzman were crucial. Finding Max Fisher was a pretty painstaking process, as he was at least somewhat based on Anderson, and they auditioned like over 1,000 actors in the search. Schwartzman, of course, hails from the extensive Hollywood family of Francis Ford Coppola, but during this era, he was not an actor. He was the drummer for the band Phantom Planet. But he was at some family barbecue, and his cousin, director Sofia Coppola, introduced him to the casting director for Rushmore, who decided he was the perfect fit. Sounds not unlike the family outings that Keith and I attend. Then we have the ever-elusive Bill Murray. Famously difficult to get through the typical movie industry channels, was supposedly encouraged to read the script by his agent, and liked it so much he agreed to do it for scale, about $9,000, which is wild. To me, Murray's enjoyment in playing Herman Bluth and making this film is palpable. Olivia Williams rounds out the cast as Rosemary Cross. The trio and their chemistry are what make all the elements of Rushmore come together harmoniously. And of course, the music of Wes Anderson films could inspire its own episode of this show, as he may be singularly responsible for some percentage of the sales for the Kinks from 1998 on. His combination of British pop invasion deep cuts and original score by Mark Mothersbaugh are the perfect accompaniments for this heightened fairy tale high school world. As the years go on, I always think I'll go back and watch Rushmore and it won't be as good as I remember, but every time I revisit, I not only laugh, I find more cinematic nuggets to indulge in. So there you have it, Keith. Rushmore. This is a 5-star movie for me. I always enjoy it every time I watch it. Let me ask you this. How did you first get into Rushmore? Was it your first Wes Anderson movie? Give me some of your history there.
I don't think it was my first Wes Anderson movie, but I saw this. I remember, I don't know if you remember that dude that we used to hang out with, Pete,
Yes, I
in
do.
Madison.
Yes, he was an Eraserhead fan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he like lent us his Rushmore DVD at one point, and that's like where I watched it, and I think that I might have had that for like 20 years. and just never gave it back. But yeah, so I saw this like in college,
Yeah.
and I liked it. But I feel like the older I get, the funnier I find it for sure. I think it's one of his funniest like now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I do think that, and Wes Anderson, he's always written movies as like a collaboration. Like every, we watched Life Aquatic the other night. We actually watched Darjeeling Limited the other night. Life Aquatic, he wrote with Noah Baumbach. Darjeeling Limited, he wrote with Jason Schwartzman and Roman Coppola. But these early movies, Bottle
you
Rocket,
wrote with Owen
Rushmore,
Wilson, right?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. And I do think that Owen Wilson brought a certain humor to it that's
Yeah. I was
noticeable.
watching the I was watching it with the commentary on, and it's them two and Jason Schwartzman. And I just love there's this one part where they were talking about hand jobs or something, and Owen Wilson is just like, I just think hand job is like a really funny word.
I know. Well, that's like one of the things that's so great about this movie, and it's like adulthood through like the lens of youth, and then also
Mhm.
like youth through the lens of adulthood, and like how that's all get like the adults kind of act like kids, the kids are trying to act like adults. It's like this
Yeah.
big blur, and it does sort of remind me of how I feel getting older, just having a birthday recently, which is like at a certain point you just feel the same every year. Like
Uh-huh.
when you were younger, I don't know if you felt this way, but I'll speak for me. When I was younger, I always thought that there would be this like adult version of me who felt like a different person.
Uh-huh.
But every year I just feel like the exact same person as I did when I was like I
I
like
thought I
when
was gonna I
yeah.
thought I was gonna feel way different having a kid, and I don't feel that different.
Yeah, I understand. It certainly didn't mature you in a sense of which movies you want to watch.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point you bring up though. Like, I feel like Max's character uh has this like juvenile sense of humor, but he wants to be like an adult, you know?
Oh yeah.
That's one of the like unique things about this movie too. I feel like during this time in the 90s, there was a lot of like slacker movies, like Clerks and stuff like that, where it's
Yeah,
like a lot of adults that are like, regressed or stuck in, not growing up
for
completely.
sure.
But Max is like this very ambitious
This is
character.
Yeah, such a great observation. It kind of stands apart. Actually, I was just thinking about this today. So I watched the movie a few days ago, but today I was kind of thinking along the lines of where you're going with this. I kind of feel like this movie was like 10 years ahead of what would end up being very prominent for several years there with like the Michael Ceras and the Jesse Eisenbergs, where it was like almost like the nerd hero lead role.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a little bit different, but I think that it's like closer to that. Whereas like a lot of the things that this would have been competing with through the 90s is yeah, like you said, it's the slacker, it's like, you know, it's clerks, it's um people trying to be cool, really. And like this is like
Yeah.
someone who is so definitely not cool, kind
And
of
he
being
and he has like no interest in being cool, you know.
yeah, I
He,
mean if
he
anything he
he's
wants
so
to be
ambitious. He wants to make these cool plays, and like
yeah.
he wants to be the president of like every club he's in, and like
Yeah,
I don't
I mean, he
know.
certainly wants to be taken seriously. I would say one thing that stands out about him is everything is like this curation. Like he's obviously directing plays, but his whole life he's just trying to like curate what people think about him. I
Uh-huh.
mean, there's little subtle details that like when he first meets Miss Cross and he lights her cigarette, it's like why does he even have a lighter?
Yeah.
Like it's not like he
Yeah.
smokes or anything, but he has a lighter.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
know,
Uh-huh.
um, I wanted to point out a couple things. So the character of Max Fisher is like loosely based on Wes Anderson. Now didn't listen to
Hmm.
the commentary at all, so maybe there'll be things that you'll add to the mix here. But I just in research, this comes up, and I don't think it takes you too long to get there. It feels somewhat personal, like a lot of his movies do. Um, but this obviously is about a person who is writing and directing plays for this kind of a little bit of a prestigious prep school, and this is like that was a situation for Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson
Mhm.
also got terrible grades in school, and I think
Uh-huh.
also was expelled from his school. And
Yeah,
this
they talk
movie,
about that in the commentary a little bit.
okay,
Him and Owen Wilson both went to private schools like this,
yeah,
and I you might already know this, but they filmed the movie like there was like a lengthy like search to find this like the perfect school to
yeah,
film it in, and they ended up doing it at his childhood school.
yeah. I did come across that too. That's where they ended up filming it, and it is interesting. I mean, it does look like a nice school. It's got like a full like campus.
Uh-huh.
I mean, one
Yeah,
of the best some of the best shots of the movie are in that like kind of courtyard,
yeah.
where they're getting picked up and where you would eventually be lighting the
It
leaves
has
on
like a
fire.
it has like a college campus like feel to it, kind of.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like even the things that are going on at this school feel more like an Ivy League college. Like he's president of the fencing club. Like the things that he's the
Hmm.
beekeepers club, like the things that he's involved in. We didn't have those things at our high school.
No, yeah. And I love that part where when he first gets kicked out and he stands up in his class to give this speech to his new like public school, and
Yeah.
he's like he says something like, "It's sad that you guys don't have a fencing team. I'm gonna do my best to like see that you guys get one," or something like. And that's another thing about him as a character too, is he's kind of oblivious to how everybody else sees him.
Yeah.
Like
Because the things that he thinks are cool and interesting are not what normal teenagers think is cool and interesting.
yeah, uh-huh.
Like what normal teenagers they're probably more aligned with Donnie and Ronnie or whatever. Like
Hmm.
just like wanting to meet girls and being in wrestling, which
Well, he
you know,
has a conversation with his dad early on in the movie when they're like walking home. I think it's
yeah,
like pretty early on when he's like, maybe I should be chasing girls or something or whatever. Um,
that's all anyone cares about anyway.
yeah, yeah, he says something like that. Yeah. I love his dad too, by the way. And the
Seymour Cassell
relationship
or
he has
whatever.
with him is like, it's sad, but it's like, it's just a really cool aspect of the movie because you don't often see father figures like his dad who are just kind of like, he gives him the test when he got like a 37 on the test or something, and his dad just like draws it, turns the 3 into an 8. Like, how cool of a dad is that? Like,
No, yeah, his dad obviously is like very loving and like is just trying to always like look out for his son and wants him to have a good life. And I think it's one of the saddest parts in the whole movie,
mhm,
or like some of the saddest stuff in the movie are around his dad and kind of how he
for
treats his
sure.
dad and how he won't. Well, first of all, he lies about his profession, but a lot of that is just to try to like fit in with the more
Yeah.
elite. But like when he won't let his dad go to that dinner after his play, I think that's
Yeah,
like
that part really cuts deep.
that may be the most heartbreaking
He
part of the
says it's
movie.
for cast and crew or something, and it's really just
Yeah,
Bill Murray and Rosemary.
yeah. I don't know how you pronounce. I don't know if it's Seymour Cassell, like Castle. I don't know how you
I think
pronounce
it's
his last name.
Castle.
Okay, but he was like one of those dudes that was in like Grindhouse movies, like or like which it kind of became a thing that a lot of the directors from the '90s that we know, like Tarantino and even Robert Rodriguez and Wes Anderson too, like they cast these guys that were in those like older kind of grungy grindhouse drive-in type movie theaters, like of course Rob Zombie too, but like you just see these guys pop up, and Seymour
Mhm.
Castle's in several Wes Anderson movies. I think he's always really good, but he's just one of those great kind of character actors. I don't even know if you can quite call him that, but he's just got like
Yeah,
such a distinguished, recognizable look.
yeah. Well, they did mention him in the commentary, and I think Wes Anderson said something about how he wanted him because he saw him in a bunch of Cassavetes movies.
Yeah, so there you go.
Um,
That's true. Yeah, that
yeah.
that he is in Cassavetes movies too. Um, I most recent in terms of older movies, he's in that movie that Knock Knock is based off of, which I have in the other room.
Mm.
Um,
I'm looking at his IMDb though, and he works a ton, or he used to work a ton.
yeah,
He just has like hundreds of credits. Yeah, he's
Um,
in Tales from the Dark Side.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very recognizable, but like always good. I think. Like, I mean, it's probably like there's a limit. There's probably a little bit of a limit to the range, but I always think he's good. Um, so we're gonna jump around a little bit. One of the things, Keith, that's hard for me when doing something like Rushmore and why we didn't do like comedy driven stuff a lot on my last show is because it's like you don't want to get into the thing where you're just talking about the parts that make you laugh.
The jokes, yeah.
Yeah. It's just hard to do a show when you're just like, oh, and I like this part, and I like this part, and that being said, I wrote down a ton of lines.
Yeah.
I wrote down a ton of lines that are at least gonna bear mentioning. But I did write down a few things on the analytical side that came out, and some things that I just saw in research. One of the things is the chapter title cards. I don't know if
Mhm.
you noticed this at all, but they're kind of like color coded.
I guess I didn't notice the color coding. I know it's like the different not the seasons, but
Seasons.
the
Well,
month.
they do
Yeah.
like months. I think it'll say like
Yeah, I think it's
January or whatever.
months. Yeah.
Well, the colors change, and they kind of like coincide with like what's going on. Like it starts off. I think the first one is blue, and it's like loneliness. Like all the characters are kind of like alone. And
Uh-huh.
then it turns to red when he first meets Miss Cross, and then the next one is green, and that's kind of it seems like there's like a spring vibe. It starts off everybody's hanging out, but then it also turns to Max's jealousy. That all happens in like the
Uh-huh.
green, and then it's blue again, where everybody is kind of breaking off and broken up, and then red again when Max is like bringing everyone back
Uh-huh.
together.
I didn't notice it with the curtains, but did you notice it with like his wardrobe changing? I love
Yes,
it.
that's a
I
part of
love
it
his
too.
wardrobe change. Like
Yeah,
when he gets kicked out and then he kind of like I think he gets kicked out of his public school too at one point and then he just goes and works at the as a barber with his dad.
I know.
And I love that point because he just like he starts dressing like he's like some like homeless person in Russia or something. He's got that like fluffy hat on, you know.
Yeah, I love his like green. I don't that like green like almost
That's when
corduroy
he's
suit
starting
that he
to
wears.
get back. That's when he's
Yeah,
starting to go back to his like old self. He changes out of his like
yeah,
brown drab,
yeah.
jacket or whatever, and he takes the Russian,
Well, he
whatever
wears
cap off.
yeah, he wears the suits, which is of course very similar to uh Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate,
Uh
which
huh.
there's a few The Graduate references in this. Harold and Maude, of course, like being in love with the older woman, and you know that Wes Anderson is a huge Harold and Maude fan. Watching The Life Aquatic the other day, I mean, the kid that plays Harold is the Bond company stooge in The Life Aquatic.
I have to make an admission. I still have not seen Harold and Maude.
Do you have the Criterion?
I don't. I think that's one of the ones that's like out of print and expensive.
Well, I'm not like a diehard Harold and Maude. I've only watched it like once or twice. I do like it. I'm way more in on The Graduate. I love The Graduate.
I do really like The Graduate though. Yeah.
Um, and but there's a lot of that stuff woven into this and a lot of Wes Anderson's movies. But yeah, I think actually Jason Schwartzman having a little bit of a Dustin Hoffman type look was probably like helped a little bit.
Hmm.
When he showed up for the audition, I don't know if they talked about this. He like kind of dressed with like a suit or something and made like his own personal Rushmore pin or something.
Yeah. Wes
Uh,
Anderson said that in the commentary, they did talk about that a little bit, and he said that initially he didn't, when he was writing the movie, he didn't, or him and Owen Wilson kind of pictured a character that looked more like Wes, like a skinny,
yeah,
scrawny, like
right.
very nerdy kid, but then they were impressed at the fact that he dressed up like the character and made his own little R, put a little patch on his
Yeah. Oh, patch. That's
jacket
what
or
it was. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. So he's just like he looks really odd in the movie too. Like Jason Schwartzman will go on beyond this movie to, I think, have kind of like a cool look for several years. He's got like kind of nice long hair, always kind of a unique wardrobe, I would say. I mean, I'm a fan. I like his music too that he did, like he released his Coconut Records. So I'm like a
There's a
pretty
couple
big,
songs on that. first one that they put out that I really like. I can't
I
remember the
really
names of them, but
I really liked his show on HBO, Bored to Death too.
oh yeah.
It got canceled too soon in my mind. I think they did
What's
three
that song?
seasons.
Take Me Back to the West Coast or
Yeah,
something?
it's just called
I
West
love
Coast.
that song.
Yeah,
That
it's
song's
a great
awesome.
song. Lindsay
Yeah.
would say that that's an overplayed song by me.
It's a good one though.
I would even say that I've inspired some of my wardrobe off of wardrobe choices of Jason Schwartzman before. So I'm kind of a fan. I will say this though, Keith. This is a complete sidebar. In recent years, his look is starting to like not be great. It's
I
sort of
haven't
like
been paying attention. Has he even really been in much since
he
Bored to Death or
so
whatever?
he has a small part in terms of movies from last year. He has a small part at the end from of Last Showgirl, which he's kind of like a douche, which he's not really fitting to play. And then he's also in the Francis Ford Coppola movie Megalopolis, and I found him to be sort of off-putting in that too. And it's sort of like I want to say when cute gets old, it's just not a good
Yeah.
look. Um, it's I don't know. Listen, I'll never turn on him and like I'll be a Jason Schwartzman fan no matter what. But I'm feeling like he's in a.
Well, I have to
I'm like,
make a comment here real
yeah.
quick. So
Okay.
when we were watching, Chris, my wife, goes, "I don't like this guy."
Well, he's
Well,
very
and then
unlikable in this
is it
movie.
Slacker? Not Slacker. What's the other movie?
Oh yeah, he's a villain in. Is it? I think not Slacker. Yeah,
Hackers?
it might be
No.
Hackers. Yeah,
One of
I don't.
those late '90s, early 2000s movies. He does play a douche in, and I can't think of what it is.
Yeah, he's
I'll
the
find it.
villain in that movie. Um, is that what was she referencing that?
Just like him in general, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Wow. Um, yeah. So he just though not a great look in this movie. I mean, I will say that Max Fisher is kind of an unlikable character who I think gets redeemed at the end and like there's always like a sweetness and a naivete there, but like he is kind of a douche. I mean, he does have
It
not
is
great
Slackers.
Slacker.
Slackers.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Not
there's Slacker,
Slacker. Slackers.
right? There's Slacker, the Richard Linklater movie.
Yeah.
This is Slackers, yeah.
Hmm.
And I can't. Is it Devon Sawa that's in that too?
I think so.
Yeah. But he does have a lot. Like the Max
Yes.
Fisher character has a lot of bad intentions. I mean, do you think that his whole thing with Dirk Calloway is because he loves Dirk, or is there, some intentions with Mrs. Calloway?
Well, I mean, you get that scene with him in the car with her. He's definitely trying to flirt with her.
Which is wild, but again,
Yeah.
it's the whole thing of trying to be the adult. So
Yeah.
in terms of parts from the beginning of the movie where we're meeting all the characters, right? It's Max. We meet Dr. Guggenheim, played by Brian Cox, who is also kind of quietly great in this movie. And Brian Cox has gone on to really get a lot of fame and recognition from the show Succession, but a guy that's just been around acting forever and pops up
Hmm.
all over the place. He was in like Super Troopers, like he's been kind of one of those that guy for a long time. But he's good in this. And then we meet Bill Murray early on playing Herman Bloom, who is the quote best chapel speaker ever when he gives the speech at Rushmore to all the kids. And Herman is kind of this self-made man who you get the sense that he was poor and made his own way and is now this millionaire, but he's kind of going through life not really understanding how he's now in this situation. I think it's one of these things like you get rich and then you realize that there's nothing there, you know?
Hmm.
Like I think that's a part of it, but I mean, Bill Murray taking this role, being this character, and then he's going to be like a Wes Anderson guy for like the next 10 years. You also kind of feel like maybe it's the Jason Schwartzman connection, but the fact that like he ends up being in Lost in Translation, does that happen if he doesn't do this movie?
Yeah.
Who's to say, but it kind of feels like there's a connection there. So
You want to
this
hear
kind of,
something super interesting about that too?
yeah,
You
go ahead.
you might already know this too, but
I
this
don't
was
know that I
something
do. I don't know that I do. Go ahead.
this was something that they also talked about in the commentary a little bit. But Bill Murray actually did not see Bottle Rocket before this movie, And you would think because of his status, like he was a big actor when getting cast in this, you know.
Oh
He had
yeah,
been around for a long time.
absolutely.
And he didn't watch it. He even was given the tape at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Basically, he took the role just because he liked the script so much,
Right.
is
Yeah.
what he
So,
said. And even Wes tried giving him like a tape of Bottle Rocket, and he just kept kind of like pushing it off and just never watched it because he said he didn't want it to like taint his opinion or like change how he was doing like his acting for this movie.
yeah, he's an interesting guy when it comes to that stuff. I mean, it's almost infamous, how he is, and I hit on it on the intro, but he's kind of like notoriously difficult to like lock down for things. So it's a testament to how good the script was that he was
Hmm.
like all in on this. In fact, even willing to put some of his own money into it when
Hmm.
certain budgetary restraints came up. I don't know if this was in the commentary. I read about this that they wanted to do some helicopter scene that apparently Murray was willing to like foot the bill for, but then they ended up
Hmm.
not doing it. Something
Yeah.
like that. Or
And
maybe
he's
they
gone on to just be like a big Wes Anderson like ally. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sure I'm sure he probably likes the work. I think he likes the humor. I think he's always liked a little bit more dry. Like, I mean,
yeah.
he's very dry in Ghostbusters,
He's the perfect fit for this kind of movie. For all
Totally.
of Wes Anderson's movies,
Well,
really.
yeah. They wrote it with him in mind,
Yeah.
and for someone like me, and I'm sure someone like you, who I mean, Dr. Pete Venkman is probably one of my favorite characters of movies ever. I mean, Ghostbusters was like
Yeah.
one of the biggest influential movies for me as a kid. Like, and I just loved that character. I loved doing his lines even when I didn't even get the jokes when I was a kid.
The man has no dick or whatever.
Yeah, until is that true? Yes,
Dickless.
it's true. This man has no dick. I mean, yeah, I would just do all those lines all the time as a kid, and so yeah, I'm sure they were fans, but it really sort of kicks off this whole next generation of Bill Murray that we're going to have. And the first moment in this movie is him giving this speech where, which is an incredible speech. 'Cause,
I love the speech.
yeah, for most of you, it doesn't matter. You were born rich and you're going to stay rich. But for the rest of you, here's my advice: take dead aim on the rich boys. Hit them in the crosshairs and take them down. I think I paraphrased that a little bit, but I mean, I could some of these lines. Again, this is
It's
like
so
another
funny
movie,
too because he is one of these rich guys now.
but he's self-made, right? He's like,
Yeah.
they can buy whatever, but they can't buy backbone. And
Yeah.
we find out like, so he started his own business. He was in Vietnam. Like, I think he is a very much like, he had some hard living to get to the top. And I think one of the things about that character, and maybe is probably true, and we've seen this explored like a little bit more as like attacking rich people has become like a little bit more of a thing in like movies and TV with things like The White Lotus. But I do
Triangle of
think,
sadness.
yeah, I think that there is this kind of emptiness once you get there. Like that. So for the people like this that didn't start off rich and kind of had to work their way there, it's like this journey and this effort and this thing to get there. But then when you get there, there's kind of like this emptiness, and you look around, and he says it. He's like, I never thought I would end up with kids like this that are just like complete meatheads. My wife is like disinterested. I'm drinking
Get
by
your
the
head
bowl.
out of your ass.
I mean, really, if you like something that's not brought up in movies a lot, but what a nightmare if these were your
Can you
kids.
imagine having kids like Ronnie and Donnie? Is it Ronnie and Donnie? I'm trying to.
I know, like that's the thing. Like that truly would be a nightmare for me if call it pretentious, but it's like I would think if I had a kid, the kid would be very cultured and into certain movies and into certain music and everything. And then it's like if I had a kid that was just like a meathead, I would be like, what the actual fuck? Like, how did this happen? But anyway, Max Fisher has found a little bit of a kindred spirit in Herman Bloom because I think he recognizes, especially by that speech, that Herman doesn't really relate to all these kind of born into money preppy kids. And while Max tries to be like one of them, he always kind of stands apart. So he's very interested in Herman, and they have their little meeting. And one, I think one of the best parts in the whole movie is after they are introduced to each other, and Herman says to Guggenheim, "Sharp little kid," or whatever. Dr. Guggenheim goes, "He's one of the worst students we've got." It is a little bit of a surprise because I think at that point when you see that he like does all these clubs and everything, you just expect him to be a good student too.
Is the montage of his clubs before or after this? I'm trying to remember.
I
It
was
doesn't
thinking it
really
was
matter,
before.
but
Yeah, I
it
can't
doesn't
really
matter.
remember.
But anyways, yeah, you're right though.
Whatever it is, I can just say that like I remember it being like a surprise, like or it
Yeah.
felt like a surprise the first time I watched it. And maybe I missed things or things were out of order or whatever. But like my initial impression of Max Fisher is that he's really good, and then there's this whole meeting with Dr. Guggenheim in his office where he's
Uh-huh.
like, "You got to get the grades up, Maxie. Like this is nuts." Like the thing that I can't remember, it's not that part, but then like later on, because they have this whole rapport, which is really enjoyable. But later on in the movie is when they do the whole little Godfather reference with Tessio or whatever, because he's like, "Can't you let me off the hook for old time's sake?"
Can't
Can't
do
do
it.
it, Maxie. Um, hold on a second.
Well,
We're gonna
there's
cut out.
also the very beginning too. The movie starts off with Max dreaming about solving this insane equation.
That's right.
That's
It's
the
a
very
dream.
beginning of the movie, isn't it? Or am I
Yeah,
misremembering?
it is. That's how it starts off with him having a dream about solving a math problem, which is like that's kind of the thing about Max is like he's not going to put in the work to study and do well in school, and all these other things that he does are just sort of to distract from that.
Well, I feel like that is a testament to Wes and his like writing ability too. And I don't know if he came up with that idea or Owen came up with that idea, but you do get the idea of the kind of character that Max is immediately from that scene. You're like, this is the kind of thing that he is dreaming about. Like most kids would be dreaming about getting with a pretty girl or like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he certainly wants to be celebrated by his peers, no doubt
Yeah.
about that. And and
Uh-huh.
and nothing could be farther from reality. These people hate this piece of shit. Like they are just like not into anything that he's doing. Uh, so let's get to he's met Bloom, and now he meets another key figure in his life, Miss Cross, and they have the kind of intro in the bleachers. It's the book that's been written in the library that like kind of brings her to his attention. And okay, now we've got this prim, proper, pretty lady from I can't remember if she went to Harvard or Oxford or something.
She went to Harvard, yeah.
Yeah, his
And
safe
Max says
school.
that's my backup or something.
Which look, the positives about Max are like he's definitely like a dreamer, right? Like I think that that's endearing that he is
Uh-huh.
a dreamer. Like you can watch this movie and think that this dude is just a like smarmy piece of shit or whatever.
Just
Totally.
super annoying, but I
Yeah,
think it's funny too, yeah.
but like I do think it's a dichotomy. I think that like he is this aspirational like dreamer who like wants like he does want to like write plays. I think the kind of shitty part about it is like what are his motivations? And it seems like at first his motivations are just to be like liked by his peers or maybe even be above his peers. But then when he meets Miss Cross, kind of everything just becomes about impressing her.
Uh-huh.
What do you think
Yeah.
about Olivia Williams?
Uh, I think she's a good pick for this role.
I think so too.
Um,
I don't know. If you look at her filmography, it looked like she's been like a regularly working actress, but like I don't really know her from that much outside of this. I think she was in The Postman or whatever
yeah, I don't
um,
either. I think that was
the year before this.
yeah, I think they talked about that a little bit in the commentary how this was actually her second movie,
Yeah,
Jason Schwartzman's first movie.
yeah,
But her first was The Postman, I believe. Let me just double check.
yeah. I think so. I think that was '97. with Kevin Costner, which is sort of a weird movie.
Yeah, she had some TV stuff before this, but The Postman was was before Rushmore, and they said something about how she wasn't used to being on such a like small set or something because Postman was like a big blockbuster. I don't know.
Yeah, which is wild. Have you seen The Postman before?
I have, but it's been a very long time.
That's like a that is a dad bro movie that has not
Hmm.
lived on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a post-apocalyptic U.S. postal worker
Yeah.
movie with Tom Petty in it, by the way, who
The
maybe
world
is
ends and you
playing
still go to
himself.
work.
Um, but they have now engaged with each other, and this kind of kicks off this whole relationship, which right out of the gate, I mean, you can always kind of say that she's trying to be the adult in the situation, but I think pretty early on, she kind of is letting this thing become more than she should.
I would
It,
agree with that. She definitely says some things and kind of I wouldn't go as far as to say that she leads him on, but I think maybe she enjoys the attention a little bit.
I think so, and I think for her, it does have to do with, her, because we find out that she's a widow, and I do think it has to do a little bit with her deceased husband, because I do think that she sees some of that spark that she talks about, that her husband Edward Appleby had. I think that she does see some of that in
Yeah.
Max.
At
I
one
do.
point she says something about how he started a club that Max was president of, the Beekeepers Club, I think, or something,
That's right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one. So I think that that's how it goes, but he quickly starts escalating to, you know, I'm in love, and
Which it's relatable when you're that age. I don't know if you ever had that feeling, but when you're a teenager,
oh
like
yeah,
when you get at least for me, when I had a thing for a girl, it was like immediate. Like,
almost like sick to your stomach, but in a good way.
I
Like,
wasn't like I wasn't like trying to build an aquarium for her, but you know.
well, Max has unique, dating techniques,
Mhm.
but yeah, so now we've kind of kicked off into this whole like what the movie is, which is Max's one and only love of his life was going to Rushmore. Now it's Miss Cross, and he's going to do whatever he can to try to escalate this relationship. And I think she enjoys Max, but she quickly is trying to like keep him at arm's length. Like we said, I mean, there's a way to try to describe it, right? Because she's not. I mean, she is not like sexually interested in him or anything, but I just mean that she like lets them be a little too close, and it kind of is crossing the line between a teacher student relationship.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
there's I would say there's no point where I'm like, oh, she's sexually interested in him. Like
No.
I don't ever think you get that vibe. It's just she knows that he is like starting to get
Yeah.
more and more into her, and she should probably just separate entirely, and she doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's that scene in the classroom where she's feeding the fish, which I assume that's where the whole idea of the aquarium comes from. Because
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
he becomes obsessed with this idea that building her aquarium is like something that will win her heart, and then also passes that along to Herman later in
Yeah.
the movie to no avail. But she's feeding the fish. The camera is outside the classroom, and there's like window panes, and it's like I think the first shot when they're talking like um they're together, or maybe they're split, but then they are together in a window pane. And then she mentions uh, her husband, and he like drops the net or whatever in the tank, and they split up. So it's like now they're in separate panes. And then she mentions that he's passed away, and then they're like, he's happy again, and they're like back in the same
Uh-huh.
window pane. So it's like, a little bit of storytelling with the camera in that little sequence. But um, you know, at this point, he's got his blossoming relationship with Herman, but this is really starting to take over his life. But Herman is really, I think he really likes the idea of Max too, because he sees more of himself in Max than he does in his sons. So
Hmm.
their whole relationship is starting to come together. We have the thing of him inviting Max to the Ronnie and Donnie's birthday. He says he's got a previous engagement. I don't know if that's
Okay,
revealed.
so that's one thing. I didn't like make a note of this or anything, but that's an interesting thing about Max's character too, is like he projects this like the way that he sees himself or the way that he wants other people to see himself, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but like I think that's so funny how he like plays it plays it off like it's like he's trying to be so nonchalant about it. Like
Yeah,
Herman, this dude that he looks up to, offers him a job, and he's like, well, I would like to or whatever, but
I
you
don't have the
know,
time. Yeah,
yeah.
I think part of that is like I don't actually think Max wants to actually do hard work.
Oh, really? Okay.
I,
I
I
I kind of took it more as like he's like playing hard to get, kind of, where he's like, I need to be so cool that
Yeah, I think there's something to that too. But he is also becoming more and more singularly focused on like figuring out how to get it going with Miss Cross.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
but one of the best like isolated Herman Bloom moments of the movie is actually at Ronnie and Donnie's uh pool birthday party.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
this is where we get a real look. And by the way, I feel like I've been here at different points in my life where he is just completely just not dejected, but detached,
Yeah.
detached from life, detached
Just
from
throwing the
society.
golf balls in the pool. Looks
He,
over, sees his wife totally being cucked. Like,
yeah. And then he like has his drink. He has his Sailor Jerry's and Diet A&W
NW.
and a cigarette and his Budweiser bathing suit, and he just jumps in the pool. And this is where you get a little bit of a graduate reference with him underwater.
Chilling in the pool. Yeah.
Yeah. But it definitely gives you a snapshot of where he's at before.
I gotta say the dude, the Budweiser shorts are like the
Yeah,
cherry on the top of this whole scene.
I know. I mean,
It's so
listen,
good.
my whole life is sort of built around wanting to buy merch like from movies. But like, I mean, we were, like I said, we were watching Life Aquatic the other day, and it's like, I still want those Zissou Adidas
Dude,
sneakers.
they made those for a while.
I
I never
know.
got a pair, but
Same.
they did make those. I
Um,
specifically remember buying a red beanie just because of that
yeah,
movie though.
there's a picture back in the day of like you, me, and Dave all wearing red
All wearing
beanies.
red beanies.
Yeah, I still have mine too. I had like the actual like the Owen Wilson one with the
Mm.
uh red,
With the
yellow,
Z,
green
the
on it.
three Z's on it or whatever. Yeah.
No, mine had like the like Owen Wilson's in that movie has like a stoplight on it. It's like the regular
Oh,
green
okay.
light, and I had that one. Um, but I would love to have these Budweiser swim trunks.
Same. You could probably go to Target and buy them now.
Absolutely. I know. Sometimes when I'm in places like a Target or a Walmart, I'm like these places have the best merch because they do have stuff like that, and it's like for real. So I would love to get those swim trunks, but
If next time I'm in Target, if they have them, I'll buy you and me a
yeah,
pair. We can have
please,
matching
yeah,
Herman Bloom Budweiser shorts.
and then we can go on vacation together and drink Sailor Jailers and
Yeah.
Diet A&W.
Yes.
Um, so that's it. That's our three characters, right? And they're gonna start now coming together, and you know, I'm not really sure that you would ever pick up on a relationship between Herman and Rosemary. Like, there's nothing that really indicates that those two would
Yeah.
hit it off.
In a movie with a lot of stuff that's like kind of unbelievable, that to me for some reason is the most unbelievable. Like her
So,
going for him, like
yeah, well, she obviously has. I mean, I think all three of these characters have their own version of loneliness and isolation, but hers seems to be like there's almost actually a darkness there that's not quite fully explored because there is
mhm,
a whimsical fairy tale element to the
yeah.
world, which,
Well, I
as we
know
know,
we're kind of going through this beat by beat, but yeah, just because you bring up like the darkness of her, like I want to
yeah,
real quick just touch on the moment when Max pretends like he got hit by a car
Yeah.
and he goes in her room, and then there's a moment where she's sitting there, and I can't remember exactly what they say or whatever, but at one point she's sitting there and a tear just drops down her face, and it's
Yeah.
when they're talking about her dead husband or something. Like she says
Yep.
something about like Herman has less spunk than her dead husband does in one finger or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and
that's where I saw the darkness in her for
for
sure.
sure. That's where she kind of fully reveals herself. And that scene feels very intimate. And if there was ever gonna be a moment where a sexual line was crossed between the two of them, it feels like it's on the table there
Yeah.
very briefly before, it's he would blow whatever chances he had.
Well, Max
Uh,
Max leans in and he does kiss her on the lips, and she doesn't move away. That's what.
right. But
Yeah.
then pushes him away, and then she's like, "Wait, is this fake blood?"
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
She's
love
like,
how she's like, "I'll show you the door," and he's like, I'll just go back out the window."
it is good. But yes, so she's like living in her dead husband's house, which obviously he came from money, not just because he went to Rushmore, but there's just this house that's left behind that she's now living in by herself as like someone who teaches young children. So I can't imagine. Yes, I know it's like a prep school, but I can't imagine there's like a ton of income there. And I don't know if she had an academic scholarship, but I can't imagine Harvard is very cheap to go to. So, um, you know, not sure how all the finances work out there, but she is just there by herself when Herman first starts expressing interest. And this is one of the things when I talk about the adults acting like kids. I mean, we'll see it a lot from Herman, but when he shows up at her house and she answers the door and she's just like eating carrots, doesn't it
Yeah.
sort of have like a kid after school vibe to it or something?
Yeah. It's like,
Like,
can you come out and play?
yeah, yeah, and that's kind of how it is. And then they like go for a walk, and there is I do think that there is an initial sweetness to their
Huh.
relationship.
I love
Um,
the scene. I think it's the scene before this where you see Herman like poking his head out around the corner of a tree,
yeah,
and he's kind of like creeping on her, and then she sees him, and he's like, yeah. He goes up and talks to her, and then I don't know if you caught this, but like when he's walking away after they're done talking, after a certain point, he just starts sprinting like at full
yeah.
speed.
Is that also when he blocks the basketball shot, or is that later in the movie?
I think that's later in the movie.
That's just
I
like
could
a
be mixing
random.
up where this happens too,
No, I
but
think you're right. I think you're right, and that part is later in the movie. But it's I do love when he just blocks the little kid shooting a
yeah, he's like
basketball.
on the phone with Max or something, and that's when
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, he just totally jumps up and like swats the
well,
ball.
yeah, because when he's following Rosemary, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what you see in her, Max," and it's but like he's like developing his own obsession with her, which
Yeah,
Max
yeah.
later
Uh-huh.
called him out about.
Hmm.
You know, there is so much to like what's going on with these characters, but there is just like a heaviness to like these kind of damaged people. And I do think this is one of the things Wes Anderson does really well. He sets all
Uh-huh.
this stuff in these like story fairy tale type environments as if it's from a book or something. But like I always totally buy these people. The Jason Schwartzman character in Darjeeling Limited, who's just like this romantic who's
Hmm.
had his heart broken. Like I 100% buy that character. All even the darkness with like a Steve Zissou, which I kind of think Life Aquatic is one of the more goofy um Wes Anderson movies, but like there's a
Dude, there's
lot
some darkness in that movie too, though. Like
for sure.
the whole Bill Murray being Owen Wilson's dad and like
Yeah.
not being involved with him his whole life, like that, and just the way he treats him, like
Yeah.
yeah, Wes Anderson is so good at doing the like dark family stuff, like yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
and like he expresses the heaviness through a lot of lines. And one of my favorite ones is when Max is talking to his dad and he's just like, "You're like one of those clipper ship captains, Max. You're married to the sea." And Max just goes, "Yes, that's true, but I've been out at sea for a long time." But it's like I know it's like you're supposed to laugh at that, but there is just like this thing like hanging over everybody. And Max's mom died, and I think they don't go into it, but it's like between Dr. Guggenheim and his dad, I think that there's a lot of people that feel the remorse from
Hmm.
his mom passing away, and they're trying to help fill that void a little bit. Obviously, his dad is his dad, but Dr. Guggenheim, I do think, carries a little bit of a father role
He
for him
gives him a little
too.
bit of a pass because he knows what he went through as a kid, losing it.
Yeah,
I think he says he lost his mom when he was like 7 or 8 or something.
yeah.
And I actually I've seen this movie like dozens of times, and I never noticed until this time that they live right next door to the cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice that? Like in the background,
I
sometimes
didn't think about it. Yeah, that's a good
walking
observation.
into the house, and they mentioned it. I think I didn't even really notice it until they mentioned it in the commentary. But like, I think the reason that they live so close to the cemetery, like they didn't live there before that house.
Yeah,
Apparently, they moved there because his mother died, and they want to be able to go and visit her grave all the time. Apparently,
right.
which
So
is a super dark thing.
it is. Yeah, and I think that's part of the idea of this kind of hanging over everything. So we have Herman and Rosemary enter into now sexual relationship, and this does not please young Max. He's in pretty rough shape over this. And is it young Dirk Calloway, who actually breaks the news?
But initially, he lies to him.
Yeah,
He makes up this story about them giving each other hand jobs in the pool
because
while Max is taking a nap.
Dirk Calloway has been let on that maybe Max had some intentions with his
Yeah,
mom. This is Calloway.
but I
Uh,
love that. I love this whole sequence here. It's so
yeah,
funny to me.
you mean when Dirk writes the letter?
Yeah, Dirk writes the letter in crayon.
And yeah, but this is that like the lens of adulthood through youth and
Uh-huh.
what as a kid what you think sexuality is, and it's
Yeah,
like they're going skinny dipping and giving each other hand jobs.
yeah. Which that didn't happen. That whole
Right,
thing didn't happen.
right.
And we didn't talk about Magnus yet, but Magnus, I love Magnus too.
Yeah, I know. Bunkin or whatever. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
great.
he's the one who tells Dirk
Yeah.
that Max told him the story about his mom giving him a hand job in the back of his Jaguar or whatever.
He thinks your mom's good for a bunk.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody use the word bonk like that before, but I loved it.
Sometimes you just love a nice turn of phrase. So the big thing that this all culminates in is Max is now unveiling this aquarium that he's built for Miss Cross to win her over, and this is what eventually gets Max expelled. And it's the last straw. They've really been letting him go for his horrific grades for so long, and now he's built an aquarium on the baseball diamond, like with no permission to do so. And this is a pretty rough thing to happen for young Max Fisher because Rushmore is outside of Miss Cross, his one true love, and he's going to have to go to public school now. And you mentioned the whole rough time integrating there. Although he does quickly get into like directing plays there, and his plays are always these kind of fun adaptations of recognizable movies, including the climax of this movie, which has a heavy like apocalypse now vibe.
I love that the play at the end of this movie.
I
I don't
know
know
that
why.
part's so fun, but uh, this also coincides with his now rivalry with Herman, which is a very significant chapter of the movie. We go into this sort of montage of these two being at war with each other.
One of the funniest things about the whole movie is their little feud that they have with each other, where like, real quick, Herman runs over his or no, it starts with the bees, right?
Yeah,
Or no,
I don't that the bees isn't the first thing. In fact, I think there's a couple of great Bill Murray face acting moments in the movie. One is when he's reacting to the bees and he just kind of stops and smiles for a second at the absurdity of this.
I know for a second you almost feel like he's like, hell yeah, let's do this. Like he thinks it's funny.
Or like this is great. Like
Yeah.
he
And he's
and then
finding. I feel like he finally feels alive for a second, almost.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And and then it quickly turns to like, oh shit, it's like killer bees or whatever.
Yeah.
But that part is incredible. We have it all over I think it's like a song by the Who or something that's playing
But
while
something must have happened before that. I'm trying to remember the order that this whole war happens because that the bees come after because he's in the hotel and
yeah,
that's after Max tells his wife about
that's
her,
true.
right? That
Yeah,
might be what kicks it off. I'm trying to remember.
yeah. But I also think that there's something else before the bees. But yeah,
Yeah.
he does tell Herman's wife. He has this kind of crazy pic, which I guess he snuck up on them and took a picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that picture that he yeah. Because you see that later on when he's talking to Guggenheim or whatever, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So these two are now at war, and it just leads to this eventual final mess, which is Max has cut the brakes of Herman. Absolutely insane.
So good.
This is where it just goes to like completely off the charts because he does get arrested.
And they never go back to that either. I love
Yeah.
that about the movie, but it's like
I think
you would be in so much trouble if you did that.
yeah,
Like
I think he would be in juvenile detention. No,
yeah.
like maybe even then later tried as an adult. Who knows? But um, obviously, the way this movie is, it's funny, but
Yeah.
it is also insane.
Yeah. I mean even what precedes that is just Herman running over his bike is
Yeah,
like that in itself is insane. He sneaks into the school, the public school, and breaks the chain and then drives over his bike with his car. Like I don't know that's
yeah.
insane because Herman's supposed to be an adult. Max is only 15.
Well, what did I say? This whole movie is like blurring the lines between youth and adulthood, and all the while, this is sort of deteriorating the relationship between Herman and Miss Cross.
Hmm.
You can say it's his own like self-loathing. I'm sure this whole distraction of him being at war with a child is also a negative impact of it. His divorce weighing heavy on him. He looks disheveled, but he becomes really depressed over the loss of Miss Cross. And actually, young Max has a hard time at his high school, and you alluded to it earlier. He gets expelled from there too and becomes a barber. But you know, Max finally turns a corner, and he decides that you know what, I'm going to help my friend Herman, and he becomes this more warm character, and it's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie when he's trying to lift Herman up and he takes him to meet his dad for real. And this is the other face acting moment that I really like.
Well, wait, real quick. I think we should talk about just because I feel like this is like a big thing with
Yeah.
Wes Anderson's movies in general is the needle drops.
Oh, of course.
The Cat Stevens,
Yeah.
"Wind of My Soul" or whatever the name of that
The
song
wind.
is.
The wind. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's out there with Dirk flying the kite,
Yeah.
and Margaret Yang shows up and she's just flying her little remote controlled plane, and that's the moment when he decides to turn good again.
That's true. That's right.
I love that part.
Yeah.
And the cat both of the Cat Stevens songs in this movie, I love the
I
needle
yeah.
drops.
No.
I think Wes he's second only to Martin Scorsese in needle drops.
Yeah, I said it in the intro, but you could we could do a whole episode on Wes Anderson soundtracks. I mean, there's so many songs that I feel like he either brought back to the surface or were deeper cut songs from bands from many years ago that just didn't have like a life after their original albums. I mean, Darjeeling Limited has like 3 or 4 songs from the Kinks album Lola versus Power Man, and I bought that album on
Dude, I was
vinyl.
gonna say, you mentioned that earlier. I bought that CD because of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, same. I still remember the record show that I bought it at, like,
Hmm.
and it's great. And Rushmore is no different. I mean, Rushmore has a slew of great,
Hmm.
including of course a Kinks song.
Hmm.
Yeah, a couple Cat Stevens songs, The Who, uh, is it Creation, and the very last song of the movie. I played that at like my wedding. Like, um,
And slow motion too. He's really
yeah,
good with the needle drops and the slow motion. Like he does
yeah,
that a couple times in the movie, but it's most notably at the very end when they're dancing.
you're right. Yeah. So yes, and it's good that you brought that up because that is like kind of the moment where he flips. But I absolutely love the sequence where Max takes Herman to meet his dad for real. I find it to be
Hmm.
like so sweet and so endearing, and
Yeah.
it's the other face acting moment from Bill Murray that I think is truly great when he's like, "This is my dad," the barber, and Herman just has this look of, "I get it," and
Yeah.
it's like, but it's like nice too. It's not like I don't get he's not like looking down on Max for like,
They
oh,
never have a
you lied.
conversation about it. He
Yeah,
just, like you said, he just gets it. He gets
he
it
just gets
immediately.
it, but there's not in a bad way at all. Like,
He's just like, okay, I see what's happening here and I understand it. Yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I know this is one of so overall in this scheme of Wes Anderson tweeness, like Rushmore is very minimal compared to where he would go
Hmm.
with the rest of his career. But the thing with the pins, there's a tweeness to it. And I'll tell you when I left my last job, I actually got these pins for 2 girls that
For
worked for me.
attendance and
Well, yeah, well,
punctuality.
well, one of them was late all the time, and the other one called off for like random things. So like when I left, and I liked both of them quite a bit, and when I left, I gave the one that was always late, the punctuality pin, and the other one that would call off the perfect attendance pin. Because I love this part of the movie, and Herman, who's a complete mess at this point, gets a haircut, and Max is actually going to try to fix him back up with Miss Cross, which doesn't exactly go the way that Max or Herman was hoping for, because Miss Cross never cared about getting an aquarium. So, and then probably the last key scene that happens is the one that you hit on, where um, Max does have this is going back a little bit now, but we talked about it, where he goes to see Miss Cross one more time, and she does reveal the one thing that I wanted to hit on out of that is she does reveal that um, that Herman hit his bike, and that didn't make her happy.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, she lists like three things or something why she's yeah.
yeah, all of this, Keith, really to get to what is the true memorable spectacle of this movie, which is Max's final play.
Yes.
Both
Which I
Herman and
fucking love.
both Herman and Miss Cross in attendance, and this is full blown all the work, explosives, pyrotechnics. People have to put on headphones. There's like
He's
whatever.
like at the beginning of the play he says like there are safety glasses and ear protection under your seat. Feel free to use them if needed.
And it's the coolest thing ever. It makes you be like, I wish that I went to a school that put on a play like this.
Yeah, it's totally nonsensical. It's like where we went to school you would never see a play like this. Like
In any school. It's wild. It's definitely like more cinematic, and it
hmm.
looks like a movie. Like he's playing like basically a Maverick type character in this
Uh-huh.
apocalypse now type world. There's soldiers carrying surfboards. Bunkin has now been cast in it because Max went back to Rushmore to settle all family affairs one day.
That's one of my favorite like little sequences too when after him and Dirk go and get the dynamite And he's like, I got one last piece of unfinished business I gotta do. And he gives him the BB gun, and you're like, what's he gonna do with this? And he goes and he's perched up in the window and he's cocking the BB gun.
And he
Oh my
shoots
god.
Pumpkin.
He shoots Magnus, dude. Oh my god, it's so funny.
But then,
And then there's a sweet moment between them too because
yeah,
Magnus is like he's like, I always wanted to be in one of your fucking plays.
I know you did, mate. Yeah. No, I know that part is, and they have a little, they like kind of reconcile, and it feels like maybe there's even a friendship like in the play.
Uh-huh.
And ultimately, I'm not really sure if Herman and Miss Cross are going to get back together, but they are sort of snuggling up at the play, and
Mhm.
everybody's starting to get a happy ending. Even Max's dad, meets one of Max's teachers from Grover Cleveland High School, and
Uh-huh.
has a little thing with her. And Max, of course, has a little blossoming love with Margaret Yang, who he had previously kind of been dismissive to and kind of a dick, which he points out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of makes you be like annoyed by Max a little bit because she's so sweet and nice to him, and
yeah.
you're like, dude, she's the obviously the girl that you should, be pursuing. But
But how many guys, Keith, have been wrong about that in their life when they've got their heart set on someone else, and then the nice girl that's right in front of them, they just cast
yeah,
aside it. The tale is old as time.
yep,
So, obviously we skipped over some stuff because this is a movie where it's like it's in the grand scheme of things, it's a short movie, but they pack so much in,
there's a lot of plot in this.
a
Yeah,
lot of plot, a lot of
yeah,
dialogue, a lot of great lines. I mean, I just wrote down that every line is a
hmm
masterpiece. Like
yeah,
when they're at dinner
so
with
good.
Luke Wilson, these are OR scrubs. Oh, are they? And then Herman like
Apparently, that was
cracks up.
that was something they talked about in the commentary. That was I think that was Luke Wilson's idea to do that line.
It's really funny. And
Yeah.
I love
I don't think that line is funny. What I think is funny is Bill Murray's reaction. He does the little like he
yeah.
chokes on his drink, laughs at
Yeah,
it.
it's basically like a spit take. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think the line is funny just because he's being a dick. Like,
yeah,
I also love when he just says, "Pipe dreams, Dad. I'm a barber's son." Lines that again, like something very like adult awareness to say something
yeah.
like that.
I
And
definitely think like I've said this a couple times already, but I think this is one of Wes Anderson's funniest movies for sure. I just love the like adolescent sense of humor. They're talking about hand jobs and
yeah, and maybe, of course, the maybe tagline line of the movie is in the midst of their kind of war as it's coming to an end. Um, Herman saying, "She's my Rushmore, Max." Yeah, I know. She was mine too. Like, just the idea of what is Max's line on it early in the movie is like when he says, "What's the secret, Max?" I think it's just to find something that you love and do it every day. For me, that's going to Rushmore. And then for both
uh-huh.
of them, it ends up becoming, this idea of a relationship with Miss Cross, who, as they point out, is in love with a dead guy. So it's a little bit of a challenge for everyone. This
hmm
dynamic. But
Yep.
yeah, there's a heaviness to it, comedy, references to 70s movies. Of course, I'm a fan. I do think that Wes Anderson seems like a really big fan of that era of filmmaking,
hmm
which, of course, speaks to me, as I've talked about many times on this show already. In the early days, it's just my favorite era of filmmaking. We didn't even show the Rushmore Criterion Blu-ray, which I'm
I
sure.
don't know who the artist is,
Yeah,
but
it
I
does.
think they got the same artist for like all of his
Hold it up.
movies.
I know, and they all look cool. Uh,
Dude, yeah, it's like him just sitting there
the
looking
artwork on
kind of like a
all looks
douche on the
cool.
front of his go-kart.
By the way, I also brought up the Heat 4K that I
Oh,
watched
hell yeah.
earlier with Val Kilmer in the
I need to get
whatever
that 4K.
demolition, Tucson, Arizona. And I also brought up, Keith, a book that I bought at a bookstore in Chicago. I don't know if you can read it. It's called "Fucking Innocent," and it's written by a dude, John Andrew Frederick. You'll also enjoy that for the bookmark. I was using a Severin
Ooh,
sticker.
Severance sticker.
Yeah. But there's three chapters in this book, and it's Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, and I think Royal Tenenbaums. And
Ooh, I might have to look that up.
I just read the Rushmore chapter earlier today. I bought this in a bookstore in Chicago in, like, I don't know, 2018 or something. And the thing that I'll just point out about it is the title, I do think, captures that Wes Anderson vibe from that time. Like, just that idea, like fucking innocent. Like, it's like taking a very crass word and then putting it with, like, an
Yeah.
innocent, like a childlike thing. Like, that is the dichotomy
Yeah.
of the Wes Anderson vibe. And, I just think it's,
Yeah.
for me, in a very, very much, I love most of his movies. I mean, as the years have gone on, I'm less into the stuff that comes out year over year. But I
Yeah.
rewatched Darjeeling Limited, and I'll tell you, like, Dustin, I don't know if he is listening, but him and I were really into Darjeeling Limited. Like, together, we watched it like a bunch of times.
I love. You know what's funny? I think Darjeeling Limited might have been the first Wes Anderson movie that I saw in theaters.
Yeah. I didn't. I saw it like on HBO on demand. But Dustin and I watched it a bunch together. And I think I logged it twice on Letterboxd, and I gave it a 4.5 both times. Me feeling influenced by people not thinking that that's one of the great Wes Anderson movies. And then I rewatched it, and I was just like, this is a 5 for me. Who am I kidding? I love
Yeah.
this movie, and I always have, and I'm done pretending like I think it's anything less than a 5. Like,
Yeah.
I do think, again, that, like, the characters and the heaviness in that movie of Jason Schwartzman, Adrian Brody, and the Owen Wilson character, I think it's so good and funny at the same time.
Yeah.
Everything he does well in those first 5 movies, but from Bottle Rocket through that's my Wes Anderson era,
Yeah.
for sure. So I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything
The
else on
older I
Rushmore?
get, the more I just appreciate all of his movies in
Mhm.
general, just because I feel like just movies as a whole have kind of dipped in quality a little bit, and he still always delivers. I think French Dispatch, I kind of was like a little bit iffy on,
Same.
but
But
his
that also
last
has
one,
Leah Seydoux in it, so it gets points for that.
yeah, I'm blanking on the Asteroid City. I actually thought was maybe a bit of a return to
I thought
like
so
his,
too. I thought so too. But I
yeah,
wasn't. I still, like, didn't like it as much as this early stuff. But, like, I
yeah,
did like it too.
yeah.
Um, So yeah, I'm always interested. If he's got something coming out, I'm definitely gonna see it, and I'm gonna make every effort to see it in the theater.
Hmm. For sure, yeah.
All right. Well, this was probably our longest spotlight, I would think.
I know. I feel like we talked for like 2 hours just about Rushmore, but dude, I love this movie. I'm glad that we had,
Yeah.
a long discussion on it.
Yes, we love it equally. And why don't we wrap this up and then come back and do a quick homework section?
Okay, Matt. This week I wanted to hear your thoughts on The Addiction and Abel Ferrara vampire movie. So, what did you think?
Which is shockingly in black and white and filmed entirely in black and white.
Which was a bit of a dispute with myself at the end of the last episode. I couldn't remember that it was totally in black and white.
One observation from me, I thought this looked like incredible. I mean, this is like one of the best looking black and white movies I feel like I've ever watched. I mean,
Did you
I
watch it in 4K? Do
I'm
you know?
thinking so you know how some of the streaming has like an updated version,
Yeah.
and you can
If you
tell.
watched it on streaming, it probably was in
Yeah,
4K.
it looked
Yeah.
really good. I was like, I can't believe how good this looks. First thing that jumped out to me, um, besides the look, was several quotes in this movie that were sampled in Jedi Mind Trick songs, like the whole
Oh,
Christopher
really?
Walken, yeah, which is a hip hop group that I listened to at one point. Now I'm too old to listen to fun music like that, but um, like, yeah, there's the part where Christopher Walken's like, the entire world's a graveyard. And then she has a whole little monologue at the end. Self-preservation is annihilation of self. That, like, that was stuff was definitely sampled in a Jedi Mind Trick song. So
I
that
didn't
was,
even know that. That's cool.
yeah, that was welcome to me. I loved the stuff with Christopher Walken.
I know.
I
I wish there was more of him, to be
Yes,
honest. Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie overall. My only kind of down, I didn't love the climactic sequence, like the
Yeah.
attack at the party scene.
Oh, I actually really like that.
Oh,
I
you
thought you
did?
were talking
Okay.
about the very end when she's like there with the priest and it kind of turns into like a religious thing at the
Yeah.
very end, but
Well, I mean, obviously the movie's called The Addiction, so it's like vampires, but disguised as like really about like drug addiction.
yeah.
I think, or at least that was my
No, it
interpretation.
definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
but
there's even the thing where she like I think the first time she has blood is she shoots it up with a needle. She doesn't
yeah.
actually like suck it out of somebody. Like,
Well, I mean, when she meets Christopher Walken, he is a vampire that's been, doing this for however long, and I love that he's just like, yeah, have you any kids? And then he starts talking about something else. It feels like, and then he comes back to, he's like, yeah, so any kids? The kids are always hard the first time or whatever. Like he
yeah.
like he's just so kind of cold and callous about it. But
He mentions the movie Naked or the he mentions the book Naked Lunch,
yeah,
which
that's
didn't
true. Which is
didn't
also
David
about
Cronenberg make into a movie?
yeah, and I've never read the book or seen the movie, but I do
I
think
haven't either.
I
And
think it's
after
about
watching it again though, it made me really want to go watch that though.
well, I think it's about like heroin addiction.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
assuming so, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that, Keith, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know, not seeing it or reading the book. But yeah, I thought this was really cool. I mean, I haven't logged it yet because I always try to, I don't know, it's stupid, but leave the stuff for the show. But I mean, I'd probably give it like 4.5 stars, like right out of the gate. Like I thought this was a really good movie, and
Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen a ton of Abel Ferrara's work. I'm familiar with him. I know Bad Lieutenant. Did he do King of New York?
He did
Which,
King of New York, which is
yeah,
why I kind of like wanted to watch this because I
yeah.
love King of New York and I
This
just
was
rewatched that too.
But I really liked The Addiction. I was like, this is a
Hmm.
really cool movie, really well done. And like I said, I mean, maybe one of the best looking black and white movies that I've ever seen. And I'm
Hmm.
like, not, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic about that. I mean, this looked
Yeah.
really good. So thank you for that recommendation. I did, it's definitely like kind of on my list of, like, if there's like an Arrow sale or something, or I see
Yeah.
it sitting out at Barnes and Noble, I'll probably pick it up.
Well, it's probably readily available now because I know they did just put out a 4K a few months ago.
Yeah. Okay. So I assigned you this another Walter Hill movie,
The
The
Driver.
Driver, with Ryan Tatum as a
Yeah.
pretty cool dude.
Did you also know there's a connection to another movie we talked about earlier,
I don't think
Possession?
so. No, I don't know this.
So the girl that plays the alibi girl in this
Mm,
movie,
yeah.
that's the main girl from Possession.
Oh no, yeah, I never would have got that.
Isabel Adjani. I didn't
Yeah,
know that until I was like taking down my notes. But I thought I don't know, it's
that is
fun,
cool. How did you
fun
like
little
it?
connection there. I really liked this movie though. Well, I think we were talking about this when you were trying to pick which one to give me, and you said that you liked this more than Streets of Fire. I agree. I like this more than
Okay,
Streets of
wow.
Fire.
All right, that says something.
Um, like you said, it's very reminiscent of Driver, um,
Of Drive or
or Drive. Yeah, Drive.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah. Tons of awesome like car chase scenes. The protagonist is just this stoic dude that
yeah,
he doesn't talk much. He's just like this dude who just does his job and he's just like a badass, like a quiet badass.
super cool, good hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wrote
all
down
things
his
to
name.
aspire to.
Ryan O'Neal plays him,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've never seen Barry Lyndon, but apparently he plays Barry Lyndon in Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon, I also have sitting on my shelf, still in shrink wrap. It's like I actually just saw a reference to it in something. Maybe it was in this book, I'm like always like I need to just watch Barry Lyndon. It's
I
like
know. I feel like it's one of those movies that I had seen pieces of when I was a kid, and I love Stanley Kubrick, but it's the subject matter just seems kind of boring to me, so I've just
and
never sat down to watch it.
I think it's actually kind of known as being kind of a boring movie, but
Yeah.
as like a deep cut good movie too.
But I know a lot of people that like Barry Lyndon. Well, not a lot of people. I know a couple people who Barry Lyndon's like their favorite Kubrick movie though. So
Yeah,
I need to just watch it.
same.
Um, but yeah, so that dude plays the lead character in this movie. And we just talked about King of New York. I wrote this down as one of the notes. I feel like Bruce Dern. So Bruce Dern plays this cop who's trying to catch the
Right.
driver, and he reminded me of the cops in King of New York
Okay.
because I had just recently watched it. So like he's like this cop who's like psychotic. He's just like on a mission to catch the driver, and like he goes as far as to like try to entrap him by like bringing in these robbers who do way worse shit than the driver does.
Yeah.
These people are robbers that shoot people, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna use them to catch the driver who does
Yeah.
nothing but drive. I
Yeah.
thought that was a little weird, but
It is.
I mean,
It's a heightened universe for sure.
yeah,
But it is fun. It is like very stylized for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, well,
Um,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
right off the rip, the very first sequence is like very reminiscent of Drive too.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Like when
he
you
picks
watch,
up these guys who are like robbing a card game or something,
yeah,
and they're all wearing like heat masks almost like
right.
the hockey masks. I loved that. And then he's like trying to dodge the police, and he like pulls into like a dark alleyway, and it's very similar to Drive. So if you
When
like
you
the movie
watch,
Drive, this movie is probably a heavy inspiration for that.
yeah, when you watch Drive and Thief and The Driver, it's very quick and easy to see the crossover in those movies.
Yeah, yeah,
Thief, directed by Michael Mann, of course, the director of Heat,
yeah.
too. Okay, so you want to do assignments real quick?
Yeah, I didn't pick. Oh, yeah, I did pick one for you. I want you to watch Soul, the the Pixar movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to do that, and then on theme with one of the movies that you watched not too long ago. Of course, I'm talking about Al Pacino in. I can't remember what it is. What was the movie with Al Pacino in the gay clubs?
Cruising?
Cruising, yeah. Similar to Cruising, I want to assign you. No, I'm kidding. Actually, have you ever seen Paper Moon?
I have not. No.
That also has Ryan O'Neal and was directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who directed The Last Picture Show. I wonder if that's
And
streaming.
Targets, right?
Yeah, and Targets, yeah.
Which you made me watch before.
That's
Well,
true.
you didn't
Maybe I'll
make me. You told me to watch it, and I liked it.
by the end of this, I'll have assigned you every Peter Bogdanovich movie. I don't know if Paper Moon's streaming. If not, we'll go back to what my other pick was going to be. But
That's okay. I'll find it. I'll find it
on
somewhere.
because that has Ryan O'Neal and his daughter Tatum O'Neal in it,
Okay.
and is a good movie. And I have
I really liked him in Driver or The Driver. Is it The Driver or Driver?
The Driver.
It's The Driver.
The
He's a very good like stoic man, you know.
Yeah, heavy on the. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you do Paper Moon? Because I
Okay.
kind of feel like the other thing I was going to assign you, and I don't want there to be like rumors started about you or something.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Okay, so yeah, let's do Paper Moon.
All right. I think that about does it then. We've assigned each other homework.
I don't really know how this is gonna shake out. You're definitely gonna have to make some cuts. Hopefully, we got the hand waves in the right markers. But this is probably our longest episode, I would think. I mean, it feels like it.
It felt like we talked about Rushmore for a long time, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I love that movie. I think there's so much, like we said, like there's so much to talk about with that movie.
Yeah, it's earned the discussion. So, all right. Well, I think that's it, Keith. You good?
I'm good, man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Do it for pizza and go.